Chapter 141. Sword Repair. Hearing the exclamations from the base-building cultivators present, Yang Gongwan only felt that her brain had suffered a heavy blow. She was dizzy and she couldn't recover for a long time. Year after year, what she painstakingly pursued was actually accomplished by a small family cultivator who she never really valued. This moment, an unprecedented sense of frustration overwhelmed her. She finally understood that what her grandfather had always told him was that the big family came from the small family step by step. There are not many big families and they are born big families. She looked at the much-anticipated Qin Daoxian, and seemed to see the rise of a big family from that radiant figure. Sword Repair. If Qin Daoxian does not fall in the future, the Qin family will inevitably rise and become unstoppable. This point Yang Gongwan, who knew the horror of sword cultivators, couldn't be more clear. Brother Zhou, let's go. Qin Daoxian glanced at Zhou Xiliang, whose emotions were gradually losing control, and a thunderous voice exploded in his ear. Surprised by this explosion, Zhou Xiliang regained his consciousness a little, and he looked at Qin Daoxian with prayers in his eyes. Brother Qin, help me once, please save my father. Hear this. Qin Daoxian was silent. After a long time he sighed. Brother Zhou, haven't you seen it? It's not that I don't save Uncle Zhou, but this decision, both your Zhou family's decision and your father's own choice. Qin Daoxian didn't know what the Zhou family was thinking. But in his opinion, although Zhou Muqing was wrong, he was not guilty of death. The Zhou family was a little too harsh on the clan by doing this. At least, the Qin family under the control of Qin Daoxian could not make such a cold decision. From a profit point of view, this move by the Zhou family undoubtedly paid the least price and preserved the reputation of the Zhou family. Once the Zhou family thoroughly investigates the matter, not only can it give justice to the Zhou family, but it can also establish the absolute prestige of the Zhou family in front of the millions of monks in Guang'an Prefecture. It even laid the foundation for the Zhou family to become the first family in Sangzhou in the future. And what their Zhou family lost was a trivial foundation-building late-stage cultivator who had little longevity. Even other members of the Zhou family would not feel that the family was cold. After all, Zhou Muqing's dereliction of duty is the result of Zhou Muqing's dereliction of duty. If not, with the strength of the Zhou family, it will definitely not fall into the dilemma that it is now. No, I don't believe it. Zhou Xiliang kept shaking his head. It's impossible for the family to give up my father. My Zhou family has been standing in Guang'an Mansion for more than 1,000 years. What storms have not experienced? Back then, during the chaos of divine judgment, Sangzhou Jindan cultivators died so many battles, and so many families were destroyed, and my Zhou family survived. With the death of more than 100 foundation-building cultivators this time, my Zhou family will give up their clan. I don't believe it. I don't believe anything. Zhou Xiliang said. His eyes were red, his expression seemed to be eating people. Seeing him like this, Qin Daoxian didn't know how to comfort him. Only silence. Wu? Father, what are you doing? Zhou Xiliang turned his head with difficulty, and saw Zhou Muqing, who was covered in blood, resting his right palm on Zhou Xiliang's back. On the palm of his hand, one after another spell pattern circulates. Qin Daoxian recognized at a glance that it was the technique of banning Dantian Qi. Zhou Muqing broke a gap in his left chest's spiritual armor, and from the gap he could even faintly see his beating heart. This kind of injury on ordinary people would have died long ago. But Zhou Muqing, as a cultivator in the late stage of foundation establishment, still insisted on forcibly mustering the few remaining sips of true essence, and under the sneak attack, Zhou Xiliang's Dantian was temporarily imprisoned. Zhou Muqing ignored his son's surprised eyes, turned to look at Qin Daoxian, and bowed to him tremblingly. Nephew, uncle, thanks. Uncle Zhou, please get up. Qin Daoxian took a volume of real essence and brought Zhou Xiliang, whose Dantian was imprisoned and temporarily lost control of real essence, to his flying sword. On the other hand, he supported Zhou Muqing's fallen body with his hands. Zhou Muqing immediately looked at his own flesh and blood, with a hint of doting in his eyes, and said, Xiliang, from now on, because my father is not in this world, you need to ask your brother Qin more for advice. Don't be the same as before, messing around with all those hooligans all day long, remember? Zhou Xiliang was already crying, shaking his head with red eyes. Father, no. Tears kept rolling down Zhou Xiliang's cheeks, and he said hoarsely, We are the Zhou family, the Wu family dare not do anything to us, father, run away. Run away. Heard. Zhou Muqing smiled miserably. Back then when I was at Jinan Pass I escaped, and since then I have sworn that in this life I, Zhou Muqing, will never run away again. Say it. Zhou Muqing stopped looking at his son, turned to look at Wu Guangyi and said loudly, "Old Ghost Wu, I lost. According to the agreement, my life is yours." Who knows to hear this? Wu Guangyi glanced at Qin Daoxian, and there was a deep fear in his eyes. Cough. "Don't worry, this is my own choice and it has nothing to do with anyone else." Seeing Wu Guangyi's eyes, Zhou Muqing immediately knew what the other party was thinking. He coughed blood and laughed wantonly. "Okay." Wu Guangyi nodded heavily. "After today, my Wu family will no longer mention your Zhou family's interception of my Wu family members, but your Zhou family must give us an explanation as soon as possible. Rest assured." Zhou Muqing nodded. "Even if you don't talk about this matter, my Zhou family will give you an explanation to the Wu family and millions of colleagues in Guang'an. In the 1,000 years since my Zhou family established the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion, apart from the chaos of the gods of the past, there has never been a second such serious killing incident. My Zhou family will definitely give everyone a satisfactory explanation for this matter." These words Zhou Muqing said decisively. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes, ready to reverse his true essence and cut off his heart. But next second, however, he found that his true essence was imprisoned. No, to be precise, his entire body was imprisoned. Who? Zhou Muqing opened his eyes in horror. Although he is almost exhausted at this moment, he is a late foundation-building cultivator after all. If he can achieve this level, it may be difficult for a Zifu cultivator to do it. Could it be Cultivator Jindan? Zhou Muqing was taken aback by his thought. At this time, a rather familiar voice entered everyone's ears. "Clan brother, why is this?" Above Lingrui City, in the air dozens of miles away from Lingshan Mountain, a white figure walked towards everyone in the air step by step. This white figure walked very slowly, but every step seemed to be stepping in the hearts of everyone. Under his feet, the air burst into little ripples, like the legendary lotus growing every step of the way. Guang'an Sword Immortal Zhou Mubai. Seeing the person coming, Yang Linyuan sucked in a breath. On the 3rd floor of the Purple Mansion, how did his cultivation level rise so fast? Yang Linyuan murmured. But at the moment, no one was paying attention to his words anymore, and everyone's minds were placed on the white figure who was walking towards everyone step by step. Chapter 142. The Hinterland of Limba Island. A 4th-order spiritual vein was completely enveloped by a 5th-order mountain protection formation. On the spiritual veins, Lingshan Mountains stand in it. On each Lingshan, there is a palace, Immortal Palace looming. According to legend, this 5th-order mountain protection formation was created by the Zhou family, who made great contributions to Qianyuan Jianzong thousands of years ago, and asked the Yuanying Jinjuan of Qianyuan Jianzong to set it up by himself. This is different from the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion on the coast. This is the home of the Zhou family. Except for the monks of the Zhou family, outsiders are not allowed to enter without invitation. Among the mountains there is the most towering Lingshan Immortal Palace. A monk with silver hair and a youthful face stood on the high platform of the palace, overlooking the faint Lingshan group under his feet. Suddenly he sighed. "Mu Bai is gone?" Hear this. A spectator who pushed in the door paused slightly. His face was a little ugly, and he lowered his head to admit his mistake. "Patriarch, this subordinate is incompetent, and I failed to stop him. Jianxiu on the 3rd floor of the Z Mansion insisted on leaving, not to mention you. Even if the old man made his own shot, he couldn't stop him." The silver-haired youth shook his head. "Third elder, it's not your fault. Mu Bai, with his perseverance, his way. In this matter it may not be clear who is right and who is wrong. But, is it worth it for a late foundation-building cultivator who made a big mistake?" The 3 elders were very puzzled. The ancestor of the Zhou family smiled. "In your eyes, Muqing is the one who made a big mistake, but in Mu Bai's eyes he is my Zhou clan, that's all. Mu Bai would never give up any Zhou clan, even if giving up him was the best choice." Above Lingrui City, before the floating mountain, Zhou Mubai grew lotus under his feet and walked in the air. As he walked towards the crowd step by step, the cultivator present felt that the air around him became stagnant. To know, there are tens of thousands of monks who came to participate in the celebration of Lingrui City today. So many cultivators were actually suppressed by Zhou Mubai's aura. Visible. The name of Sword Immortal is not false. Qin Daoxian looked at Zhou Mubai, who was walking towards him step by step, and felt as if his whole body was in a quagmire. All the time, he felt that he had built the foundation of the strongest swordsmanship. Even if he was not Zhou Mubai's opponent, he was at least as good as him. But obviously, he overestimated himself, or in other words, underestimated Zhou Mubai. Only by standing in front of Zhou Mubai in person did Qin Daoxian feel how much pressure he was under. Compared with Zhou Mubai, the patriarch of the Clearwater Monkey clan he fought with before was no different from a child. Dantian Gas's domestic. The flickering starlight floating in the sky above the sea of air, stimulated by Zhou Mubai's aura, gradually stabilized. Call. As the starlight became brighter and brighter, the pressure on Qin Daoxian's body became less and less. With a slight movement he found that he was actually able to move. Obviously. Zhou Mubai, who was in the distance, also noticed this scene, and his eyes burst with light. It's like encountering a big happy event. Zhou Mubai's thoughts moved, and he pulled the momentum of his whole body away from everyone, and then pressed towards Qin Daoxian a little bit. This time, Qin Daoxian suddenly felt that the burden he had just lifted was on his shoulders again, and this time he was under even more pressure. He knew that Zhou Mubai intended to weigh his fineness. Although Qin Daoxian has not practiced for a long time as a sword cultivator, he is just like the sword cultivators in the world, he would rather not bend. At this moment, Zhou Mubai's pressure stimulated him instead. Dantian is full of energy and Zhenyuan is running wildly. Coupled with the increase in the tangible sword intent above the air sea, no matter how much pressure Zhou Mubai exerts. Qin Daoxian's 3 feet in front of him were firmly controlled by him, and he was not affected by Zhou Mubai in the slightest. You become hurt. Qin Daoxian only felt that the pressure around him receded like a tide. He looked at Zhou Mubai, nodded and said, I got lucky. Well? Zhou Mubai laughed wantonly, today is a big bait. Done. Zhou Mubai looked at Zhou Muqing and the smile on his face subsided. Looking at Zhou Muqing's blood-soaked appearance, Zhou Mubai shook his head and said, Brother, why is this so, hurt? Zhou Muqing smiled miserably, Young patriarch, this must be the case. If not, my Zhou family will not be able to comfort the hearts of the Wu family. Otherwise, I will not be able to gain the trust of millions of people in Guang'an Prefecture. The heart of the Wu family. Gain the trust of the Guang'an people. Zhou Mubai raised his brows. What's so difficult about this? Say it. Zhou Mubai turned his head and looked at Wu Guangyi, the head of the Wu family opposite. Wu Guangyi saw Zhou Mubai's eyes looking towards him, only to feel a terrifying pressure pressing on him, making it extremely difficult for him to open his mouth. Beside him, the flying sword that had been slashed by Qin Daoxian, was even more frightened by Zhou Mubai's sword intent, and let out bursts of whining. A long time. Wu Guangyi only felt his whole body light up, and he knew that it was Zhou Mubai who took back his momentum. Fellow Taoist Wu, what is your request from the Wu family? In front of so many colleagues from Guang'an, just say it. Zhou Mubai said indifferently. Okay. Wu Guangyi nodded, plucked up his courage and said, I said before, as long as you Zhou Mubai apologize to my Wu family for the Zhou family, and swear that this is not your Zhou family's doing, I will believe you. Do you dare? Who knows? When Zhou Mubai heard this, he smiled lightly, turned to look at Zhou Muqing and said, just because of this, the clan brother will give his life to protect each other. Could it be that in the eyes of the clan brother, my face, Zhou Mubai, is more precious than the life of the clan brother? Hearing this, Zhou Muqing was silent. He didn't wait for Zhou Muqing to answer. Zhou Mubai looked around at the Guang'an mansion who were present and said loudly, my Zhou family did not protect the safety of the Wu family's route to the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion. This is my Zhou family's negligence. On behalf of the Zhou family, I, Zhou Mubai, apologize to the 136 members of your Wu family who lost their lives. Say it. Zhou Mubai bowed deeply and stood up with 3 breaths. Seeing this scene, everyone felt Zhou Mubai in their hearts and respected the Zhou family. As for the oath you said. Zhou Mubai paused slightly. The hearts of everyone present were raised. As long as Zhou Mubai dared to swear in public, it was basically 100% certain that this matter was definitely not the work of the Zhou family. Because it is impossible for the Zhou family to take Zhou Mubai's path as a bet in order to attack the mere Guang'an Immortal League. This is for the Zhou family. Undoubtedly, it will ruin the future and hope of the family, and it is an extremely stupid act. I, Zhou Mubai, hereby swear that if the 136 foundation building cultivators of your Wu family are harmed by my Zhou family, then I, Zhou Mubai, will not be able to make any further progress in swordsmanship in this life. This oath heaven and earth can learn. Boom boom boom. As this oath was established, a dull thunder sounded faintly in the sky. Everyone vaguely felt something. Around Zhou Mubai, there was an indescribable flow of energy, which was exactly the effect of making the Great Tao Oath. Qin Daoxian is very familiar with this effect. Because Luo Shiyuan, the head of the Merman clan, made such an oath in front of him. Seeing this scene, everyone let go of their doubts about the Zhou family. This is definitely not the Zhou family's doing. Fellow Taoist Wu, how is it? Wu Guangyi was speechless when he heard this. Half an hour. He just bowed his hands and said, Senior Zhou behaves like this, only to teach the younger generation to admire, my Wu family, I have nothing to say. Fellow Taoist Wu, don't worry, my Zhou family will give you a satisfactory answer to the Wu family and the Guang'an mansion. Hear this. Wu Guangji's eyes were slightly red, he bowed and choked, so, please. Chapter 143. Above Lingshan. Yang Linyuan looked at Zhou Mubai, who was surrounded by the center of the cultivators like the stars in Gongyue, and his heart was filled with emotion. Seeing that Zhou Mubai was alone, with a few words, he easily controlled the audience on the Guang'an Immortal Alliance's side. Thinking of this, Yang Linyuan's eyes showed a touch of bitterness. It was only Zhou Mubai alone. It suppressed the momentum of everyone in the Guang'an Immortal League. Isn't it ridiculous that the Guang'an Immortal League still wants to compete with the Zhou family? Shook his head. Yang Linyuan seemed to have found something, turned to look at Yang Gongwan beside him and asked, Where's fellow Taoist Zhao? The Zhao Daoyu in his mouth is Zhao Yuanhuan, the head of the Zhao family, one of the three pillar families of the Guang'an Xianmeng. I don't know. Yang Gongwan was also a little surprised. Just now she had been focusing on Qin Daoxian, Zhou Mubai and others, but Yang Gongwan didn't pay attention to the whereabouts of the Zhao family leader. On the field. Zhou Mubai took out a second-order elixir for the treatment of injuries and fed it into Zhou Muqing's mouth. Then he pointed to Zhou Siliang's Dantian beside Qin Daoxian, and released his Dantian imprisonment. Regain control of your true essence. Zhou Siliang hurriedly flew in front of Zhou Muqing and said excitedly, Father, are you all right? After taking the elixir, Zhou Muqing's face looked much better. He shook his head at Zhou Siliang and said, Dad is fine. Subsequently, he bowed his hands to Zhou Mubai again and said, Young Patriarch Muqing made such a big mistake, and it also involved the young Patriarch making the great Tao oath for me. Muqing, I feel ashamed. Heard. Zhou Mubai shook his head and said, Although the clan brother has committed dereliction of duty, his sin will not lead to death. What's more, fortunately the clan brother didn't find out that the Wu family cultivator was attacked that day, otherwise, you and the clansmen on the battleship would probably be more fortunate and less fortunate. Anyway, thank you, young Patriarch, from now on. In the future, don't forget your identity as a member of the Zhou family, which is the best reward for me. Zhou Mubai raised his hand and interrupted Zhou Muqing's words. Zhou Muqing was moved and choked up a little. On the side, Zhou Siliang even knelt down to Zhou Mubai and said, Thank you, young Patriarch, for saving my father's life. Get up. Looking at the Sitsi generation in front of him, Zhou Mubai waved his hand slightly, and the other party involuntarily stood up. Finished talking with the Zhou family. Zhou Mubai looked at Qin Daoxian on the side and said, Brother Qin, congratulations. In the future, I will have another sword cultivator in Guang'an House. Zhou Mubai still didn't say a word. It was the sword cultivator who forged the foundation of the strongest sword cultivator. However, Zhou Mubai also knew the truth of Mu Shiyu Lin, and deliberately kept a secret for Qin Daoxian, but did not explain his details in public. Anyway, everyone is not a sword cultivator. Everyone's understanding of Jianxiu only stops at his superior combat power. Not only is he invincible at the same level, but he can even fight beyond the level. As for how to fight beyond the ranks, what is the difference between Jianxiu and Jianxiu? The cultivators are not very clear. Actually, if it wasn't for Qin Daoxian who obtained Zhou Mubai's swordsmanship jade slip, he would not have known that there was actually a road to the strongest swordsmanship among swordsmen. I don't even know that sword intent has a hierarchy. It can be seen from this. There is a difference between heritage and no heritage. If Qin Daoxian was born in Qinyuan Jianzong, his achievements would definitely be much higher than now. Of course, in the Qinyuan sword sect, there are more constraints in all aspects than now. It was a fluke. Qin Daoxian said modestly. Zhou Mubai believed it. Although he did not embark on the path of the strongest sword cultivator, he could imagine how violent the true qi that had been tempered once would be when it was transformed into true essence. The reason why he didn't set foot on this road at the beginning was because his talent was slightly inferior, and his kendo talent was not enough for him to understand the sword intent during the qi refining period. On the other hand, it was also Zhou Mubai who had no confidence that the foundation would be successful, because he knew that this kind of qi refining period would become the evildoer of the sword cultivator. To a certain extent, it could be said that God would not tolerate it. If you want to build a foundation successfully, the right time, place and people are indispensable. Even so, it is a life and death situation. Therefore, this kind of sword cultivator who understands the meaning of the sword during the period of qi refining is called the legendary sword cultivator. Just because it's rare. A few people talking. An old man wearing a light blue Taoist robe flew high into the sky, bowed his hands to the surrounding base building cultivators and said loudly, "Everyone wait." Everyone was attracted by his voice and looked over. This old man is a 9th layer foundation building cultivator. His hair is gray and his face is vicissitudes. It seems that he is approaching the limit of his lifespan. This person is the head of the Zhao family that Yang Linyuan was looking for, Zhao Yuanhuan. Immediately after, Zhao Yuanhuan flew in front of Zhou Mubai, bowed to Zhou Mubai, and was reluctant to get up for a long time. Zhou Mubai recognized the other party and quickly raised his hand and said, "Friend Zhao, why is this?" Heard. Zhao Yuanhuan raised his head. Who knows, when Chen Daoxian saw the expression on his face, he only felt a shock in his heart. What a face this is. I saw Zhao Yuanhuan's face full of despair and misery as if he had been abused by others. His eye sockets even cracked open one after another, dripping with blood. "Senior Zhou," Zhao Yuanhuan said miserably, "My Zhao family, it's over. My Zhao family. It's over." The last sound was simply earth-shattering. It caused an uproar among the Guang'an people present. What happened? The Zhao family is the second largest family in Guang'an Prefecture after the Zhou and Yang families. The number of clansmen and cultivators is not lower than that of the Wu family, and they are good at alchemy. They have always been very popular in Guang'an Prefecture. Yeah, what a murderer to be able to do such a thing. First the Wu family, then the Zhao family. Hey, why do I feel that things are getting more and more complicated? Zhou Mubai heard the pained cry of the Zhao clan leader, grabbed Zhao Yuanhuan's arm and said anxiously, "Don't be in a hurry, fellow Taoist Zhao, and make it clear." Hearing this, Zhao Yuanhuan had blood and tears in his eyes and said in pain, "My clan has just sent a message to me, and the Lotus Island of my Zhao family has been attacked by a group of evil spirits." "What evil is it?" "I don't know." Zhao Yuanhuan shook his head. Before he finished speaking, the other end of the communication was cut off. "This?" Zhou Mubai and the others looked at each other. "Can we still contact you?" Zhao Yuanhuan shook his head and said, "The old man keeps contacting but no one responds. Senior Zhao, please rescue my Zhao family. After this battle, my Zhao family is willing to lead the Zhou family. Don't mention it beforehand, let's go." Zhou Mubai grabbed Zhao Yuanhuan's body and was about to leave. Qin Daoxian hurriedly said, "Brother Zhou, I would also like to go." Qin Daoxian also felt that something was wrong at the moment. First the Wu family was attacked, then the Zhao family. He has to find out the situation, otherwise such a disaster will happen to the Qin family. How can the Qin clan resist? Okay. Zhou Mubai glanced at Qin Daoxian and didn't think much about it. With a scroll of sword light, he took him and Zhao Yuanhuan into the sky and flew towards the Lotus Island. Chapter 144. The Lotus Archipelago is a large island in the middle of 8 islands, shaped like a lotus flower. Viewed from a high altitude, it looks like a lotus flower in full bloom. Here is the Zhao family land. The Zhao family, like the Yang family and the Wu family, used to be the Zifu family in Guang'an, but now it has declined and has become a foundation-building family. Even so, the background of the Zhao family is not comparable to that of ordinary foundation-building families. The Lotus Archipelago consists of 9 large islands, 8 small islands. Among the 8 smaller islands, the mortals of the Zhao family live, and the big island at the core is the residence of the cultivators of the Zhao family. But at the moment, on the Lotus Island, the Yin and evil spirits are permeating, and there is no such thing as the appearance of a fairyland. You must know that the original main island of the Lotus Archipelago has a third-order spiritual vein. But at this moment, this third-order spiritual vein has become the source of Yin Sha Qi, the main island of the Lotus Archipelago, inside the Zhao family immortal mansion. At this moment, the whole immortal mansion was surrounded by Yin evil spirits, and there were ghosts and shadows in it. Not to mention mortals, even if the cultivators of the foundation establishment period come here, they will be attacked by the evil spirits before they stay here for a long time. Big brother, why did you let that kid from Zhao's family go out? The person who spoke had a broad face and a blue face, and when he opened his mouth, Senhan's fangs loomed. Upon closer inspection, there were even traces of dark red flesh and blood left between the lips and teeth. Looking at the outline of his face, It was not the Sun brothers who went to the Shinjue Immortal Mansion to search for treasures. Hear what my brother said. The tall and thin corpse demon with a pale face raised his head and glanced at his brother. Its eyes are golden and there is a hint of cruelty and coldness. This person is the previous white-faced base-building cultivator, Sun Fu. The Lord's order is for the two of us to capture Guang'an Mansion as soon as possible, and use this as a foundation to attack Zhangzhou Xianqing. And as far as I know, there are only about 10 cultivators in the Zifu from the Zhou family in Guang'an. Moreover, Zhou Mubai from the Zhou family is a sword cultivator with outstanding combat power. He paused. If you want to win Guang'an Mansion as soon as possible, you must find a way to weaken the strength of the Zhou family. But, are you so sure that the Zhou family will send the Zifu cultivator to investigate? I'm sure, and the Zhou family definitely sent more than one cultivator from the Purple House. Sun Fu rubbed his black nails. Its nails were as black as ink and as sharp as flying swords, and a string of sparks exploded under light friction. More than 100 cultivators of the Wu family at the foundation building stage were killed by us and turned into corpse servants. To be able to do this, at least a few cultivators of the Zifu have joined forces. Therefore, the Zhou family will definitely send Zifu cultivators to check it out this time, and there will be more than one. Sun Fu did not guess that the Zhou family had indeed sent a cultivator from the Zifu. It's just not a few but Zhou Mubai. High in the air. Zhou Mubai's escape light swept across the sky, extremely fast. Qin Daoxian felt that Zhou Mubai's escape speed was even several times faster than his. Brother Zhou, don't you think this is a little strange? First the Wu family, then the Zhao family, how do I feel that the other party seems to be leading us by the nose on purpose? Hear this. Zhou Mubai froze slightly. Indeed, things have developed up to now and it is indeed a bit abnormal. The purpose of attacking the Wu family's fleet was to show the Zhou family their strength, and the opponent had at least one cultivator from the Zifu. Immediately afterwards the Zhao family was killed. As such, if the Zhou family wants to find out, they must send more than 3 cultivators of the Zifu to ensure that everything is safe. It seems so. Zhao family's Lotus Island, no matter how you look at it, looks a bit like a trap deliberately set by the other party. Zhou Mubai understood what Qin Daoxian meant, but the Wu family's fleet had an accident on the route to Xianqing in Guang'an Prefecture. Now the enemy is showing signs in the Zhao family land. Zhou Mubai had to go and find out just for the promise he made in front of his colleagues in Guang'an. Say it again. Zhou Mubai is a master of art and bold. He was sure that as long as he was not a late Jindan cultivator and used his trump card, he would have the assurance of escaping for his life. And if the other party has the strength of a late Jindan cultivator, why are they so sneaky? Directly attacking the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion will not be finished. Hearing Qin Daoxian's words, Zhou Mubai said with a solemn expression, no matter what, go to Lotus Island and see it first. Qin Daoxian nodded. Right now that's all there is to it. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian couldn't help feeling a little irritable. Originally, the Guang'an Xianmeng and the Zhou family were fighting, but at best they were only fighting but not breaking. A direct armed conflict between the two sides is unlikely. But now, inexplicably there has been evil chaos and armed conflict is inevitable. Actually, whether in Wangxinghai or Xianyunzhu, there are evil cultivators. Although the overall strength of these evil cultivators is not strong, they are like mice in the gutter. Of course. According to Zhao Yuanhuan's narration, what happened on Lotus Island may not be as simple as the evil cultivator. Zhou Mubai's escape was extremely fast. In less than an hour, it has crossed a distance of tens of thousands of miles. Front. Lotus Island is already in sight. This was the first time Qin Daoxian came to Lianhua Island, because the Qin family Shuanghu Island was probably located on the left side of Guang'an Prefecture, while Lianhua Island was on the right side of Guang'an Prefecture. If you want to rush from Shuanghu Island to Lianhua Island, at the speed of Qin's cargo ship, it will take at least several months to sail. Moreover, the Qin family and the Zhao family are not familiar with each other, and there is not much interest in the two families, so there is no need to come here. Arrive. Seeing the white-haired Zhao Yuanhuan in his own family's land, his heart was burning, and he couldn't wait to go to Lotus Island to find out. But fortunately he still has some sense. Knowing that this trip must rely on Zhou Mubai's strength. Evil spirit. A purple light flashed in Zhou Mubai's eyes. Obviously this is a spiritual pupil secret technique. Qin Daoxian couldn't see any and evil spirits, just looking at the main island of Lotus Island in front of him, there was an uncomfortable feeling. Brother Zhou, what is the evil spirit? Zhou Mubai descended an escape light on a small island outside and explained, You should know that spiritual energy is transformed from earth energy, right? Hearing this, Qin Daoxian nodded. Spiritual veins are built according to the terrain, and no spiritual vein can be built in the air. Even the power source Lingshu pool in the Zhoujiao Lingshu battleship was made by using a unique refining method. Anyway, it is absolutely different from the spiritual veins. Evil energy is transformed from spiritual energy. Speaking of this, Zhou Mubai's face suddenly became serious. If it was an ordinary evil, Zhou Mubai would destroy it by himself. But an evil spirit that can transform the spiritual meridian into the Yin meridian is not something Zhou Mubai can act rashly. First, the evil spirits have a bonus in the Yin meridian, and the cultivator is in a place full of Yin evil energy, because the body has to resist the invasion of the Yin evil energy at all times, so it is good to be able to exert 7 or 8 achievements in one's strength. Over and over again the strength gap will be huge. Perhaps the other party's early purple mansion can be used as the middle purple mansion. More importantly, since the other party has transformed the third-order spiritual meridian of the Zhao family into a Yin meridian, it proves that the cultivator of the Zhao family is already more fortunate. After Zhou Mubai's explanation, Qin Daoxian suddenly realized the seriousness of the matter. On the main island not far away, there is far more than one evil spirit hidden, but a large group of evil spirits. I just don't know the specific strength of this group of evil spirits. Fellow Taoist Zhao, Brother Qin, wait here for now and wait until I go to the main island to investigate. Zhou Mubai bowed to the two of them. Zhao Yuanhua knew that his strength was limited, and even if he went, it would drag Zhou Mubai back. But he turned his eyes to Qin Daoxian. Because in the eyes of the Zhao clan leader, Qin Daoxian is also a sword cultivator. Although his strength is not as good as Zhou Mubai, he is definitely much stronger than his foundation-building cultivator with a near lifespan. See the eyes of the Zhao family leader. Qin Daoxian pondered for a moment and said, Brother Zhou, why don't you and I join forces to find out how? Hear this. Zhou Mubai suddenly felt that Qin Daoxian was not timid, but immediately thought of his strength and nodded in agreement. With the foundation of sword cultivation made by Qin Daoxian, his strength is definitely comparable to that of ordinary monks in the early period of Zifu. If Qin Daoxian went, it would also be a help to him. Chapter 145. 2 rays of light quietly descended on the main island of Lotus Island. It was Zhou Mubai and Qin Daoxian. As soon as he entered this island, Qin Daoxian discovered that there was a completely different atmosphere here from the 8 surrounding islands. Not long after he landed, this breath invaded Qin Daoxian's body. See, Zhou Muqing threw a green elixir over and said, This is the evil-breaking pill, which can resist evil spirits within 3 hours, and will not affect your strength. After he finished speaking he thought about it and threw it to Qin Daoxian as a spare. Qin Daoxian raised his head and took the posha pill. Immediately, the Yin evil qi no longer invaded his body, as if there was a layer of protection, which vaguely isolated him from the Yin evil qi. Zhou Mubai also took a posha pill and said, Brother Qin, be careful in everything. Don't worry, Brother Zhou. Qin Daoxian nodded. Although he didn't know how many evil spirits were on this island or how strong the evil spirits were, Qin Daoxian was very confident in himself, especially in Zhou Mubai's strength. With Zhou Mubai around, even if he encounters a Jindan-level evil, he can evacuate safely with himself. After taking the posha pill, the two did not dare to waste time, and headed straight for the Zhao family's spiritual veins. Because they were afraid of scaring the snakes, Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai did not choose to walk in the air, but flew on the ground like mortal warriors. It's just that the speed of the cultivator is much faster than that of the mortal warrior. In the eyes of mortal warriors, you can't even see the shadows of the two of them. Since both of them had practiced the breath conditioning technique, the auras on Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai's bodies had all faded to an almost inaudible level. The other side, in the Zhao family land, Sun Fu was holding a circular mirror-shaped instrument in his hand, and what was displayed on the circular mirror was the figures of Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai running away. Zhou Mubai. Sun Fu was overjoyed when he saw Zhou Mubai's figure. Originally, it thought that if it could get rid of a few ordinary Zhou family cultivators this time, it would be a big victory. Unexpectedly, I caught a big fish. However, happy to be happy, Sun Fu did not dare to be careless. After all, Zhou Mubai was a sword cultivator, and his real combat power far surpassed that of an ordinary cultivator of the Zifu. Even given Zhou Mubai's current level of cultivation on the 3rd floor of the Purple Mansion, several late-stage cultivators of the Purple Mansion were not necessarily his opponents. After all, when Zhou Mubai defeated Luo Shiyuan 5 or 6 years ago, he was only at the first level of Zifu. Think of this. Sun Fu said to the younger brother beside him, "Go and see, have those few corpse servants with perfect foundations been made?" "Brother, don't worry, you have already practiced it." The broad-faced man's face was blue and purple, and his fangs were exposed. "With the complete strength of our 2 purple houses, plus the 3-headed corpse servants of the early purple house, Zhou Mubai will definitely be left behind. Still can't be careless." Sun Fu shook his head. Even if Zhou Mubai is defeated with the background of the Zhou family, it is impossible not to give him a life-saving trump card. If he escapes at that time, things will be troublesome. Heard? The wide-faced zombie took this seriously and said seriously, "I have already arranged a great formation of 10,000 corpses and blood, and combined with the evil spirit of the Third Order In Meridian, Zhou Mubai will never be able to escape." Sun Fu was relieved to hear the great formation of corpses and blood. With the complete battle strength of their 2 Zifu, plus the early battle strength of the 3 Zifu, a total of 5 Zifu, combined with the great array of 10,000 corpses and bloody demons, couldn't win Zhou Mubai. Then he is too scary. I am afraid that the real strength is comparable to Jindan Cultivator. Arrive. Zhou Mubai raised his hand and used the spirit pupil secret technique, only to see that the mountains in front were enveloped by a thick layer of black air. "It's here, the source of the evil spirit," Zhou Mubai said solemnly. This moment, the 2 of them no longer have any expectations for the survival of the Zhao family cultivator. It's just, where have the mortals of the Zhao family gone? This point, both of them were very puzzled at the beginning. You know, in addition to tens of thousands of monks, the Zhao family also has millions of mortals. So many mortals, even if they die, there will always be a place to bury their bodies. But the truth is, Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai searched all over the 8 small islands, but they didn't find a single Zhao family mortal. The only possibility now is, the mortals of the Zhao family were made into corpse servants by this group of evil spirits. There is a third order Yin vein here, and it is not too convenient to refine a corpse. Think of this. Qin Daoxian could not help clenching his fists. As someone who has been educated in previous civilizations, since Qin Daoxian was born, he felt that his 3 views were out of tune with this world. Because compared to the previous life, the world is more cruel and naked. The humble and cautious life of mortals in this world far exceeds the ancient society of the previous life. This can be known by looking at the awe-inspiring attitude of the mortals in Qin Daoxian's clan towards him. This is still family. Other ordinary people tend to be more humble when they see a monk. Because this is a group of existences that can take their lives if they move their fingers. Sometimes. Qin Daoxian feels that he is very lucky because he has spiritual roots. At least in this world, he can try to control his own destiny. But ordinary mortals. First, they have no force, and second, they have no productivity, and even their living space depends on the monk's mercy and charity. Even so, the mortals in this world are still tenacious and hardworking. This moment, Qin Daoxian had a qi in his heart, an uneasy qi. Whether it is a monk or a mortal, everyone is a human race. Obviously they are both human races. Mortals have already lived so humble, yet they still suffer such a tragic fate. Millions of people who said that they were made into corpses were made into corpses. Qin Daoxian didn't know whether these evil spirits were human or ghost. But he is in this moment. He secretly swore in his heart that he would never die with these beasts. Zhou Mubai seemed to notice that Qin Daoxian exuded a strong killing intent, and said in surprise, "Brother Qin, what's the matter?" "Nothing, just thinking about the affairs of the Zhao family, I feel a little uncomfortable." Hear this. Zhou Mubai sighed and comforted, "Maybe, things are not as bad as you think." This sentence. He didn't even believe it himself, but Zhou Mubai could only comfort himself like this. Millions of lives were lost just like that. Go. Zhou Mubai took out an invisibility talisman and slapped it on himself, and then slapped one on Qin Daoxian. Immediately, a roll of sword light took Qin Daoxian to fly towards the deep mountains. He was eager to take a look at this moment. Are things really as bad as the 2 of them imagined? But when Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai flew over several hills, they saw a scene in the basin surrounded by several mountains that they will never forget. In the valley below, one after another corpses piled up in the valley basin like a pile of garbage. Zhou Mubai used the spirit pupil secret technique and found that all the corpses piled up in the mountains were filled with evil energy infecting their corpses. All the time. These corpses are being tempered by Sha Qi. Sure enough, they are refining corpses. Zhou Mubai's face was ashen. At this moment, Qin Daoxuan's hands were shaking slightly. He almost clenched his teeth and a sentence popped out of his mouth. I'm going to chop up these bit by bit. I'll be with you, Zhou Mubai said with a pale face. Chapter 146. I heard that someone is going to chop me up? Behind the two, a cold voice came over. Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai turned around quickly when they heard the sound. Because they did not dare to reveal their traces, not only did the two of them dare not reveal their bodies, but they also did not dare to release their spiritual senses for fear of stunning snakes. Did not expect. The two are so careful. Still found out. Seeing that the two of them were discovered, Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai simply released the invisibility talisman and the breath-holding technique on their bodies. Confrontation with Brother Sun Fu in the air. Behind Brother Sun Fu, 3 corpse servants dressed in spirit armor and covered in silver luster stood in the air, surrounded by blood and evil spirits. Zhou Mubai recognized at a glance that the 3 were monks from the Wu and Zhao families during their lifetimes. And all of them were foundation building and perfect cultivation. Unexpectedly, after some tempering by the Sun brothers, they were actually promoted to the level of Zifu. However, Zhou Mubai knew that this kind of forcibly promoted Zifu corpse refining was no match for a normal Zifu cultivator. After all, this kind of corpse refining is only a powerful body, and the means are very limited. Of course, its attack and defense definitely reached the level of the Zifu cultivator. If you think that the Zifu cultivator has a lot of methods, you dare to ignore the opponent's attack, which is completely courting death. By now, Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai only had a fight. But what they didn't expect was that a light curtain rose straight up from the corpse refining ground, and instantly sealed the sky above Qin Daoxuan's heads. Not good. Seeing this, Zhou Mubai pulled Qin Daoxian up, and the light flashed, but was still stopped by the blood-colored light curtain. How about it? What's the taste of the 10,000 corpses and blood demons that I prepared for you? Sun Fu looked at the two of them in the formation and burst into gloomy smiles. Although the Sun brothers are also in the great formation of 10,000 corpses and blood evil, this kind of blood evil spirit will only enhance the strength of their zombies, not weaken them. Really. As the blood evil spirit in the formation is getting heavier and heavier, it has become more and more difficult to stop the blood evil spirit from attacking. Zhou Mubai and Qin Daoxian had to use their true essence and mana to resist the attack of Shueisha Qi. No, if we go on like this, we will die when our mana and true essence are exhausted. Zhou Mubai's face became solemn. The corpse servant of the Z Palace belongs to you. Done. A scroll of sword light directly enveloped the Sun brothers and the 2 corpses. The Sun brothers knew that Zhou Mubai's strength was amazing. But at this moment, Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai are already trapped in the formation. They don't need to fight with each other recklessly, they just need to wait for the formation to use up their real mana. The two naturally became meat on the chopping board and they were slaughtered. Especially Zhou Mubai is a sword cultivator. I don't know if the corpse made by sword training will be stronger than the ordinary corpse? Sun Fu fully thought. From the moment it was transformed into a zombie by the real god, it was completely distorted. What it wants now is to make all the people in the world into zombies. In this way everyone will be the same again. As for zombies, they have no pain, no touch, no taste and no soul. What does it matter? Corpse servants don't need self-awareness, they just need to be the master's puppet. The reason why the 2 brothers retained their self-awareness was because their masters needed them to complete the task of capturing Cangzhou. And their master, God Ju Daoist, seems to be extra cautious. Hiding in the old nest is not willing to take risks at all, so all this can only be done by the 2 of them. If you want to do this, a corpse without self-awareness can't do it. This is also the only lucky place for the 2 of his brothers. Seeing that the last zombie was still rushing towards Zhou Mubai, Qin Daoxian rolled up the sword light and involved it in his attack. The sword gas turns into rain, the white marks form a curtain, and the sword marks merge into one, turning into stars. This is the change in Qin Daoxuan's Kendo's external performance before and after comprehending the Siyu sword intent. Now, one after another star like a falling star, smashed onto the silver body of the Zifu zombie. But this Zifu zombie not only has spiritual armor to protect the body, but also has a strong body. Qin Daoxian felt that the opponent's physical body was even more terrifying than the monsters of the same rank, and he felt no pain. After Qin Daoxuan's sword marks were united, the attack power of sword transformation Starlight definitely reached the level of the early days of Zifu. The only difference between him and the Zifu cultivator may be in defense. That's right. As a sword cultivator, defense once again became his shortcoming. But this is also the shortcoming of all sword cultivators in the world. Because Jian Xiu originally focused on attacking, and paid attention to attacking instead of defending. If even Jiangxi's attack can't break the opponent's defense, it proves that the gap between the two sides is already huge, and there is not much difference between defense and defense. But at the moment, the situation is somewhat special. Qin Daoxian encountered a Zifu zombie who happened to be good at defense. Compared to its defense, the attack of this Zifu zombie did not cause much damage to Qin Daoxian. Whenever the opponent pounces, he just needs to use the star to smash his figure and avoid it a little. As a result, the two sides were at a stalemate. To be frank, if you change the scene, Qin Daoxian is really not afraid of fighting a war of attrition with the opponent. After all, he has a reserve of true essence, the second-order fortune-telling White Lotus. But at this moment, he can't afford it. The blood-colored evil spirit is getting stronger and stronger, eroding and consuming his true essence all the time. Even if he can afford it, Zhou Mubai may not be able to afford it. After all, Zhou Mubai doesn't have his natal magic weapon. Think of this. He glanced at Zhou Mubai's battle circle. It seems that they are afraid of Zhou Mubai's attacking methods. The Sun Brothers' playstyle is quite obscene, that is, try to avoid fighting with the opponent as much as possible. It really had to be reckless, and it was also a few zombies who worked together recklessly. Zhou Mubai did cut off one of the two zombies in the early stage of Zifu. But with the replenishment of the blood evil spirit, Qin Daoxian found that the zombie's hand actually grew again. Qin Daoxian immediately saw the problem. Every time Zhou Mubai wanted to kill a zombie in the early stage of Zifu, in order to break the balance of combat power between the two sides, the Sun Brothers tried their best to intercept it. With the perfect strength of his brother Zifu, even if Zhou Mubai could beat them, he would have to spend a lot of effort. Every time there was such a delay, the zombie crisis in the early days of Zifu was resolved, and the Sun Brothers began to fight against Zhou Mubai again. Qin Daoxian could see it. Together, the two corpses were able to force Zhou Mubai's attack. This is also the confidence for them to kill Zhou Mubai. If Zhou Mubai could kill them with one sword, they probably ran away when they first discovered Zhou Mubai. See this? Qin Daoxian turned his heart, and while avoiding the attack of the Zifu zombie, he said, "Big brother Zhou, I will block one of their brothers and you will do your best to deal with the other zombies." Hear this? Zhou Mubai was surprised at first, but then he realized that there was nothing he could do at this moment, so he had to take the risk and agree. Okay. Chapter 147. Next moment. Qin Daoxian rushed into Zhou Mubai's battle circle with the zombie he was fighting with. Zhou Mubai saw the timing, and a sword beam pierced the sky. The sword glow was hundreds of feet long, drowning everyone's sight. Now, in the eyes of everyone, there is nothing else between heaven and earth except this sword glow. Even the aura that permeated the formation of 10,000 corpses was split apart by this sword glow. The sword light finally hit the red light curtain of the great array of 10,000 corpses and blood, sending out little ripples and disappearing. See this scene? Zhou Mubai's heart sank, but he was not too disappointed. Because his purpose has been achieved. I saw this sword beam hundreds of feet long, forcibly separating the Sun Brothers who had been inseparable. Sun Fu saw this. After a pause, he flew up, wanting to meet his younger brother. But Zhou Mubai would never give him a chance. As soon as the sword light was rolled, he re-involved it into his own offensive, and together with it, the early Zifu zombie who was fighting with Qin Daoxian was involved. Well done. Qin Daoxian's face was filled with joy, and then a star appeared, directly bombarding the wide-faced zombie who wanted to meet Sun Fu. Boom! The stars fell like shooting stars. It smashed on the silver-purple body of Sun Fu's younger brother Sun Mang, causing it to slam back into aid. Sun Mang looked at Qin Daoxian who attacked it, and opened his mouth full of fangs. A golden light flashed from the depths of his pupils, full of tyranny and cruelty. Jie, you actually want to stop me? It's just you? Hurt. Qin Daoxian took a deep breath and nodded. It's just me. How brave. Sun Mang roared. Immediately, a fist smashed towards Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian, like dealing with the Zifu zombie before, also turned his flying sword into a star and bombarded it. Who knows, the zombies in the early stage of the Zifu could stagger their attacks and put them on Sun Mang, but after a little while they dashed towards Qin Daoxian again. Not good. Qin Daoxian's eyes narrowed. Obviously, the zombies of Zifu's completeness were far beyond his scope of coping. After all, his current cultivation base is only the initial stage of foundation building. Other cultivators at his cultivation level, let alone fighting against the zombies of the Purple Mansion. It is estimated that a roar of the enemy can scare the cultivators in the early stage of Foundation establishment to the core. In the nick of time, Qin Daoxian escaped with a flash of light, and avoided Sun Mang's attack dangerously. Hide. Sun Mang smiled cruelly. How long can you hide? Qin Daoxian was silent. In the face of the zombie with the complete strength of Zifu, he no longer has the energy to speak again, and he must pay full attention to the other party's movements. After all, as long as he hits the opponent with a random blow, he will be killed on the spot by the opponent. Qin Daoxian had no doubts about this. This means that zombies can only melee combat and have limited means. If it is replaced by a human race who reaches the complete monk of the Zifu, Qin Daoxian will definitely be beheaded on the spot in 3 or 2 strokes, and there will be no chance to play such an exciting game with the other party. Seems to think of something. Qin Daoxian thought about it. Moment. Within a radius of thousands of feet, it was shrouded in a curtain of rain. Sword chi turns into rain. This ability that he realized before comprehending sword intent. As Qin Daoxian's swordsmanship cultivation became more and more profound, he has used it less and less. Because of the enemies he faced. Either the early period of Zifu or the great perfection of Zifu. Not even a normal Foundation establishment cultivator. In the face of an opponent of this level, the move of sword chi into rain is simply scratching the opponent's itch. Shichi. The raindrops that the sword energy turned into fell on Sun Mang's terrifying body with silver-purple muscles and knots, making a chi sound. But not even a single hair on the other side could be hurt. Jia. Sun Mang smiled and said, "Why are you tickling me? If you only have this ability, then go to hell." Say it. Sun Mang's body was like electricity, and he rushed towards Qin Daoxian with a 3-point speed faster than before. In this moment, Qin Daoxian seemed to be frightened, standing still. Boom. The claws pierced the air and let out a roar. Sun Mang's sharp claws were as black as ink and sharp as sharp swords. With just one blow, Qin Daoxian's figure was torn apart. However, no blood flowed out. After image? Sun Mang turned his head, and the next moment he found that Qin Daoxian appeared in front of him one after another in the rain curtain with a radius of several thousand meters. This? Sun Mang was a little dumbfounded. He is a zombie and has no soul, so he has no consciousness. At this moment he can't tell which Qin Daoxian in front of him is real. Among these Qin Daoxian, some people disappear from time to time, and new Qin Daoxian appear from time to time. Weird. This is Qin Daoxian's understanding of the technique of sword light transforming rainbow, for several months, combined with his own sword intent, and created a short-range fighting technique. This kind of movement is not only fast like lightning, but also has the effect of confusing the enemy. Just like now. The sight of hundreds of Qin Daoxian figures in front of Sun Mang made him extremely annoyed, because he couldn't tell which figure was real and which figure was fake. This method is the inspiration Qin Daoxian got from the rain of sword chi, which is to use the human body as a flying sword. It's just that the strength of the physical body is quite high. Fortunately, Qin Daoxian has practiced the body training method, so there is not much problem in cultivating this body method. This body technique was named by him, Body Transformation Sword Light. Dozens of figures were torn apart in a row, but none of them were real, and Qin Daoxian's figures became more and more smashed, and finally it was almost like a rain curtain turned into sword chi. It was attached to Sun Mang's body. How can there be such a reason? How can there be such a reason? Sun Mang was so angry at Qin Daoxian's sloppy play that he shouted. Obviously Qin Daoxian's strength is far inferior to him, but he is playing around with him. How can he not be angry? This moment, he suddenly fell in love with the divine consciousness he had when he was a human monk. If he has divine consciousness, how could he be played by Qin Daoxian like this? At least he can tell the truth from the fake. But what it doesn't know is that even if it has spiritual consciousness, it is extremely difficult to distinguish the true from the false, because Qin Daoxian has practiced the breath-holding technique and has practiced it to a very advanced level. There are only 2 ways to decipher this method. One is that the cultivator's consciousness far surpasses that of Qin Daoxian, and he can naturally see through the truth at a glance. Another method is to practice the secret technique of spiritual eyes, like Zhou Mubai, and be able to distinguish the true from the false. On the field, Sun Mang became more and more angry. Go away. Sudden. Sun Mang became anxious when he saw that his eldest brother was in a precarious situation under Zhou Mubai's offensive. One claw tore apart Qin Daoxian's sword light incarnation. He rushed towards Zhou Mubai's battle circle. But the reason why Qin Daoxian held it up was to let Zhou Mubai kill the enemy, so how could he be willing to let Sun Mang return to help at this moment? Next second, a ray of stars fell and hit Sun Mang's chest, causing him to stop. But other than that, Xingmang did no harm to Sun Mang. Qin Daoxian didn't expect his attack to hurt the opponent either. All he had to do was hold back Sun Mang. Now, the anxious party instead became the Sun brothers. The other side. Sun Fu saw that his younger brother roared wildly, but took Qin Daoxian to do nothing, and his heart gradually sank. He figured everything out. But only the variable Qin Daoxian was missed. Without Qin Daoxian, with the help of his younger brother Sun Fu, and the three-headed Zifu early-stage zombies, with the help of the 10,000 corpses and blood demons, they were at least 80% sure to keep Zhou Mu Bai. But now, think of this. Sun Fu shook his heart and took out a white ball the size of an adult fist. Chapter 148. Come out. You come out. What kind of skill does light hide? Sun Mang's green face and fangs, his eyes are sunken and he looks like a madman. In the face of Sun Mang's clamor, Qin Daoxian rationally ignored him. See you. Sun Mang's sharp claws slashed wildly in the rain, but what was torn apart was just Qin Daoxian's sword light incarnation. Even the speed of his shredding is not as fast as that of Qin Daoxian. In a radius of thousands of meters, the incarnations are constantly emerging like raindrops. Even if Sun Mang smashed dozens and hundreds of sword light incarnations with one blow, Qin Daoxian could create 10 times the amount in an instant. I have to say, this move is used to deal with Sun Mang, an enemy who has no means of group attack and can only fight in close combat. It is very useful. Of course, this move can only be used to delay time. It is almost impossible to kill the enemy. Because of Qin Daoxian's strongest attack, he couldn't even break the opponent's defense. This self-knowledge, he still has it. The other side. Fighting with me, how dare you get distracted? As soon as the words rang in Sun Fu's ear, he secretly screamed in his heart, and his body quickly turned away. The next moment, a dazzling sword beam slashed through its left arm like a piece of training, directly cutting off its left arm at the root. Die. Zhou Mu Bai was so powerful that he controlled his flying sword again to behead him. Although zombies are invulnerable, water and fire are invulnerable. But it is not without any weaknesses such as cutting off its head and smashing its corpse pills. The zombies will completely disappear. How dare Sun Fu take Zhou Mu Bai's flying sword again? Hurriedly called the three-headed Zifu early corpse servant to block the sword for it. The three-headed corpse servant did not know why he was afraid, but he completely obeyed the master's order and slammed into Zhou Mu Bai's sword light head-on. Just for a moment. There was a corpse servant from the early period of Zifu that was split in half by Zhou Mu Bai's flying sword. Although the blood evil energy of the 10,000 corpse blood demon formation kept pouring towards the body of this corpse servant, trying to repair its broken corpse, but it was useless after all. Sun Fu saw that it was a little distracted, and Zhou Mu Bai seized the opportunity and abolished one of its helpers. I was shocked and angry at the moment. No, can't go on like this. Sun Fu was secretly anxious. Followed. He glanced at Zhou Mu Bai, and then at Qin Daoxian who kept playing with his younger brother. I have a decision in my heart. First kill the weak one, then concentrate on killing Zhou Mu Bai. Think of this. Sun Fu picked up the white orb in his hand and threw it in the air. The Dharma beads seemed to possess spirituality. They spun around in the air and then a ray of light shone toward Qin Daoxian. Who knows? Zhou Mu Bai saw this scene. Suddenly, a scene recorded in the ancient books of the clan appeared in his mind. God is a real person. Soul Divine Pearl. This is the famous magic weapon of Shinjua Jinren back then, the Soul Ding Divine Pearl. Rumors. This bead can cooperate with a unique magical power inherited from the real immortals of the upper realm, called Dingpa Xingguang. The power of calming divine light is extremely powerful. With the cultivation of Shinjua Jinren in the later stage of Jindan back then, he could even use this magical power to fix the Yuanying Jinjuan who was one level higher than his cultivation. To know. In a battle between high-level monks, there is no need to say more about what will happen if one side is controlled by the other side. That was simply one-sided brutality. It is precisely because of this supernatural power, coupled with the unique means of escape and hiding of the real person of God Jueju. And Qinyuan Jianzong was involved in his own internal affairs. Let Shinjua Jinren run rampant in Sangzhou and several surrounding states for nearly 100 years. It wasn't until Qinyuan Jianzong resolved his internal affairs that he freed up his hands and cleaned it up. Do not. To be precise. Zhou Mu Bai wasn't sure whether the real Shinjua was beheaded or not. Because Qinyuan Jianzong did not bring back the body of the other party, but only announced in public that Shinjue Jinren blew himself up and died. He left Sangzhou in a hurry. Now, 400 years have passed. The matter of Shinjue Jinren has long been blocked by the major families. If it wasn't for the fact that the scattered cultivators kept telling the story of this person, the name of Shinjue Zenren would have been completely forgotten by people. Now, Shinjue Zenren's famous magic weapon has appeared again. Think of this. Zhou Mubai was in a hurry. If what happened in the Zhao family land, behind it is the words of Shinjue real people. Zhou Mubai's first reaction was to flee immediately and report to Qinyuan sword sect. As the heir of the Zhou family, he knew much more about Shinjue Jinren than the outsiders. In those days, the Qinyuan sword sect sent a total of 3 Yuanying true monarchs to encircle and suppress each other. As a result, not only did he not even see the body of the other party, but he also damaged a true monarch nascent soul. That's right. Shinju Daoist accomplished a feat that no one in the history of Wanxinghai could do. With the cultivation of Jindan, the reverse beheading of the Yuanying true monarch is still in the case of one enemy 3. And now it seems that this one is very likely not dead. After all, its magic weapon appeared, and this time the Zhao family was suddenly destroyed. No matter how you look at it, it looks like the Taoist god Jueju came back to take revenge on the Sangzhou cultivator. After all, Shinjue Jinren was born in Sangzhou. Also has the most grudges with the monks of the major families in Sangzhou. In Guang'an Prefecture, almost every big family with a long tradition has suffered great losses at the hands of Shinjue Renren. The Zhou family was originally a Jindan family, and the ancestor of the Jindan in the clan died in the battle against Shenjuezhen. Careful. Zhou Mubai burst out his strongest attack while shouting, "Qinglian sword art! Give me death!" In midair, a cyan lotus flower is budding. This duo Qinglian wrapped the 2 zombies in the early stage of the purple palace that stood in front of him. Followed. The green lotus flower is open with 1 petal, 2 petals and 3 petals. Every time the petals open, the zombie body in the early stage of Zifu becomes illusory. To the end. These 2 zombies disappeared completely in front of everyone, not even the scum left. At the same time, the rays of light from the divine soul bead had already shone on Qin Daoxuan's body. Instant time. Qin Daoxian only felt a strange energy that imprisoned his sea of consciousness. But the golden scroll Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, that was suppressed in the sea of consciousness space trembled slightly. This imprisoned force instantly disappeared without a trace. From the outside world, the soul-defining light radiated by the soul-fixing bead was actually ineffective against Qin Daoxian. How could it be ineffective? This time, Sun Fu was completely dumbfounded, but the Lord told it that although the soul-fixing bead in his hand was a fake, it was enough to hold a Jindan cultivator for 3 breaths. Qin Daoxian is just a foundation-building cultivator. How could he be fine? Could it be, is the Lord deceiving it? Impossible. Sun Fu quickly shook his head. The Lord had no reason to deceive it. Then there is only one possibility. In Qin Daoxuan's sea of consciousness space, there is a treasure that can guard the sea of consciousness. Think of this. Sun Fu couldn't help shouting bad luck. If I knew earlier, it would be better to use this divine light on Zhou Mubai. He was just worried that Zhou Mubai had treasures to protect his body, so he chose Qin Daoxian, who looked better to bully. I didn't expect that Soul Ding Xinguang would be of no use to Qin Daoxian at all. Chapter 149. Zhou Mubai killed 2 zombies in the early Zifu with 1 sword. Then he looked at Sun Fu and he was so frightened that he hurriedly fled. Don't mind chasing Sun Fu. Zhou Mubai raised his head and looked at the blood-colored light curtain above. Take a deep breath. The next moment he mustered all the mana in his dantian. Aura flashed in his eyes, apparently using the spirit pupil secret technique. Found it. Faintly he seemed to have discovered the weak point of the red light curtain. I saw him raise his hand, and a cyan giant lotus was suspended above his head, pressing towards the blood-colored light curtain. Kakaka. As the green lotus petals continued to bloom, the blood-colored light curtain made an overwhelmed cracking sound. Boom. With a loud noise, the blood-colored light curtain shattered directly into a huge gap. See this scene. Zhou Mubai's face brightened. Looking at Qin Daoxian, who was still taking Sun Mang around in circles, in a flash, he found Qin Daoxuan's true body. Seeing Zhou Mubai find Qin Daoxuan's real body, the red-eyed Sun Mang headed straight for the 2 of them regardless. Roll. Zhou Mubai roared, and a sword beam of several hundred meters slashed straight at him. With a single sword, Sun Mang was sent flying more than 10 miles away. The sword. Immediately Sun Mang, who looked like a madman, calmed down and looked at Zhou Mubai with a faint hint of fear. Too fierce. This sword is just a little bit stronger and it can shatter its corpse pill. The corpse pill shattered and it really died. Unlike injuries like broken hands and feet, it can be easily recovered. Go. A sword smashed Sun Mang, and Zhou Mubai didn't care about chasing him, so he flew Qin Daoxian towards the shattered opening of the blood-colored light curtain. Finally, before the blood-colored light curtain closes again, Zhou Mubai rushed out with Qin Daoxian. This moment, Qin Daoxian noticed that Zhou Mubai's face was as pale as paper. Obviously, the explosion of the big move just now cost him a lot. It's normal to think about it. First, he killed 2 zombies in the early stage of Zifu with a single sword, and then broke through the formation of 10,000 corpses that claimed to be able to trap the Jindan cultivator. And before leaving, a sword hit Sun Mang, who had completed the Purple Mansion, severely. This round broke out, and even with Zhou Mubai's third-floor cultivation base, his mana was almost exhausted at this moment. Not to mention that the great array of 10,000 corpses and blood evil is consuming both of the true essence and mana all the time. Brother Zhou, are you alright? Hearing this, Zhou Mubai shook his head and said with a hint of happiness, "Thanks for bringing you here this time, otherwise I'd be really in danger this time. The situation just now. Even if a cultivator in the early stage of Jindan came here, he might be killed by the Sun Brothers. Anyway, in the corpse and blood evil array, as long as you can't kill them in one hit, they can quickly recover with the power of Blood Sha, as if they have an immortal body. And with the power of the 5 Zifu, coupled with the weakening of the human cultivator's strength by the 10,000 corpse blood fiend, it might really be possible to grind the cultivator to death in the early stage of Jindan. Anyway, Zhou Mubai felt that if he came alone, he would be less than 30% sure of escaping. Hear this. Qin Daoxian also felt very fortunate. Fortunately, Zhou Mubai's strength is strong, otherwise the two of them will die on this trip. This is probably the most dangerous situation Qin Daoxian has ever encountered in his life. Trapped in a formation. In the immortal cultivation world, how many high-level monks were slowly grinded to death by a group of low-level monks trapped in the formation? There are simply too many such examples. Qin Daoxian did not expect that he would meet him today. A small island outside Lotus Island. Zhao Yuanhuan was furious, but he knew that at this moment he couldn't do anything except wait for Zhou Mubai's news. Current situation. Clearly beyond his capabilities. At this time, a ray of light flew from the horizon from far to near. Just as Zhao Yuanhuan was about to bow his hands in salute, he felt a whirlwind in the next instant. Only the word "go" sounded in his ear. When he regained his shape, he was already standing on Zhou Mubai's Feijian. Until it escaped thousands of miles away. Zhou Mubai breathed a sigh of relief. Zhou. Senior Zhou, may I ask, how is the situation in my clan? Zhao Yuanhuan couldn't wait to see Zhou Mubai breathe a sigh of relief. Whether it was Zhou Mubai or Qin Daoxian, their eyes dimmed. Zhou Mubai patted Zhao Yuanhuan's thin shoulder and said solemnly, "Friend Zhao Dao, please condolences." Hearing this, Zhao Yuanhuan only felt that his heart had been hit hard by others, and he couldn't help but growl. "Senior Zhou, please explain clearly what is condolences. Could it be that I, the cultivator of the Zhao family, are all?" Aside. Qin Daoxian said in a low voice, "Not only your Zhao family cultivator but even the ordinary Zhao family. Do not." Hear this. Zhao Yuanhuan immediately spurted out a mouthful of blood, and there was a hint of death in his eyes. Zhao family. Zhao Yuanhuan was the only one left. A large family of tens of thousands of people was destroyed in one day. Seeing Zhao Yuanhuan's appearance, neither of them knew how to comfort him. Any words of comfort now are pale and powerless words for Zhao Yuanhuan, an old man with a near lifespan. Perhaps, for Zhao Yuanhuan, the only consolation is to personally kill the murderers of the Zhao family. Unfortunately, he is destined to not have the ability to do so. This moment, he is completely desperate for this world. To the end. The death intent in Zhao Yuanhuan's eyes became heavier and heavier. When the two arrived at Lingbei Island, Zhao Yuanhuan sat stiffly on Zhou Mubai's flying sword, and there was no breath in his nose. "Zhao. Young Taoist Zhao." Qin Daoxian called softly. "He died." Zhou Mubai shook his head. "To die from exhaustion of longevity, let alone die of despair." Hear this. Qin Daoxian couldn't help but think of the piles of corpses piled up in the mountain basin. There was an uncontrollable anger in my heart. He stepped forward, squatted down in front of Zhao Yuanhuan. His voice was soft but firm. "Young Taoist Zhao, don't worry, we will definitely avenge the revenge of your Zhao family for you. Zhou Mubai stood behind Qin Daoxian, wondering what he was thinking for a while. Limba Island. Zhou family. Qin Daoxian stepped into the Zhou family's clan for the first time. I have always heard that the Zhou family land is a place of cultivation like a fairyland. See you today. Far more exaggerated than rumored. The aura of the fourth order spiritual meridian can no longer be simply described as rich, but rather pure. This feeling is like the aura filtered by Qin Daoxian with water spirit beads. Even more terrifying. This kind of spiritual energy has not been filtered by the water spirit beads, that is to say, as long as the Zhou family cultivator is willing, he can filter the spiritual energy again with the water spirit beads at any time to achieve a better cultivation effect. No cultivation resources are mentioned. Just this fourth order spiritual vein alone, in the entire Guang'an prefecture, there is only one family. As for the other three big families, the Yang family, the Wu family, and the Zhao family, which has been exterminated, only have the third order spiritual veins as a place for clan people to practice. Zhou family land in the highest Lingshan palace. Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai met Zhou Mingho, the patriarch of the Zhou family. Chapter 150. Inside the palace. Zhou Mingho frowned after listening to Zhou Mubai's narration. Are you saying that, behind the murder of the entire Zhao family, it is possible that the real person Shinju is doing a ghost? Zhou Mubai nodded. It's not possible but very possible. He paused. The divine power of soul-fixing divine light is the inheritance that Shinju Jinren received from the immortals in the upper realm. No one in the entire Wangxinghai knows this magical power, not even the Qianyuan sword sect has recorded it. Hear this. Zhou Mingho nodded. It shouldn't be wrong. Qianyuan Jianzong can even use the Jinzong exercise, Qianyuan Jianjing, to exchange for battle merits, so as not to hide a magical power of immortals. Qin Daoxian said, is it possible that these two zombies in the perfect state of Zifu also found the Shinjue Immortal Palace because of good luck and obtained inheritance, and later became zombies because of other encounters? It's not impossible, Zhou Mubai thought for a while, but it's not very likely. Generally speaking, people will lose their minds after they become zombies. It is extremely difficult for zombies to restore their minds. And if a zombie wants to achieve a golden pill, it must experience a thunder tribulation that is 10 times more terrifying than that of a human cultivator. It is difficult for evil things to become a climate, and it is also related to thunder tribulation. But these two people, who are clearly Zifu cultivation base, have consciousness, obviously the person who refines them deliberately. And the person who made them is very likely to be the real Shinjue 400 years ago. Atom. The matter was unexpectedly guessed by Zhou Mubai. Only through an imitation of the Soul Ding Divine Pearl, everyone speculated that Shinju Jinren was still alive. But this news is a little too sensational. Zhou Mingho and Zhou Mubai both looked serious. Qin Daoxian, who knew the least about the chaos of God, was the most calm. After all, in his opinion, no matter how powerful Shinju Jinren is, he is definitely not the opponent of Qianyuan sword sect. Patriarch, are we going to report this to Qianyuan Jianzong? Zhou Mubai's face was pale and he bowed his hands. A long time. Zhou Mingho sighed and said, report it, this matter is beyond the scope of my Zhou family's response. Hear this. Zhou Mubai breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the patriarch did not want to settle this problem with the strength of their Zhou family. Instead, he chose to report to Qianyuan Jianzong and asked Qianyuan Jianzong for help. For the first time, Qin Daoxian saw the communication formation in this world at Zhou's house. You know, a force wants to control the territory under its command, except that the force is enough to suppress the various forces in the territory. Transportation and communication are also two important aspects. Traffic. The higher the cultivator's cultivation, the more terrifying the escaping speed. For example, it is tens of thousands of miles from Chen's Shuanghu Island to Lingbei Island. Before the change, if Qin Daoxian came by boat, it would take about a month. And since he became a foundation establishment cultivator, he has learned to fly. In just a few hours, it is possible to cross distances that previously took a month to cross. This is only comparable to the speed of the Zifu cultivator. Jindan and nascent soul monks, their escape speed is faster. Although Guang'an Prefecture is still millions of miles away from the territory directly under the jurisdiction of Qianyuan Jianzong. But let a Yuanian cultivator fly over from Qianyuan Jianzong, it is estimated that it will take less than a day to arrive. As for the second element of controlling the forces under his command, communication. Qin Daoxian knew that this problem was not a problem at all after seeing Zhou Mingho and Qianyuan Jianzong communicate with each other using the communication method. Compared to the piece of cyan scale that Luoli left him, it could only simply sense and communicate within 1,000 miles. The Zhou family's communication formation can even achieve real-time text communication. Just send the message of one party and send it in text, and you can quickly get the response of the other party. Of course, the speed of this response depends on the speed at which the other party makes a decision. For example, after Zhou Mingho passed the news to Qinyuan Jianzong, he was like a stone sinking into the sea, and he never got a response. But Zhou Mingho and Zhou Mubai both knew it. The high-level officials of Qinyuan Sword Sect will definitely discuss countermeasures on this issue. Whether it is to send true monarch Yuanying to Guang'an Mansion or other decisions, Qinyuan Jianzong will definitely respond to them, but sooner or later. Qinyuan Sword Sect. Inside a fairy family cave with a lot of spiritual energy. A lonely figure was sitting in the Cloud Fairy Palace. This figure was wearing the most ordinary cotton and linen robe, with beautiful long hair hanging down between the waist and buttocks, only tied with gold wire at the goose neck. She sat in the Asgard Palace, watching the cranes flying in the sea of clouds outside the window, dazed. At this time, the space behind her fluctuated like a water pattern, a young Taoist wearing a white robe with a bohemian expression, tearing apart the space and stepping out in one step. "Sister, are you looking for me?" The expression on the pretty face of the long-haired woman has never changed, and her voice has no waves. The little mouse in Sangzhou has been hiding for 400 years and finally moved. Hear this. The initially impatient young man's expression changed immediately. "Oh, that little mouse is finally willing to come out?" "My dear, in that secret space where birds don't shit, he hides for 400 years. Isn't he boring?" The young man seemed very happy. "If it was me, I would have to go out and make a lap when I die." "Who do you call Lao Tzu?" The long-haired woman frowned slightly. The young Taoist immediately handed over his hands to beg for mercy, saying, slip of the tongue, senior sister, you know that the group of beasts in Wanshinghai are a bunch of scumbags. So what, I went to catch the mouse, goodbye sister." After the young Taoist finished speaking, the space was torn apart by him again, and then he stepped into the space and disappeared. Sensing the departure of the young Taoist, the long-haired woman looked at the sea of clouds outside the window again. "When you catch this mouse, it's time to take back Izumo with all your might, master. Your wish, your disciple will help you come true, you see," the long-haired woman said disappointedly. Inside the Zhou family discussion hall. It was the first time for the Zhou family that Qin Daoxian attended as an outsider. Qin Daoxian knew that all of this was related to the strength and potential he showed. If it wasn't for Zhou Mubai's statement that he had dragged a zombie with complete strength in the corpse formation, Zhou Mingho, the head of the Zhou family, would not have paid so much attention to him. In Zhou Mingho's eyes, Qin Daoxian's talent is even more terrifying than Zhou Mubai's. At least when Zhou Mubai was in the early stage of foundation building, he would never be able to fight against the cultivators of the Zifu, let alone the zombies who delayed the complete strength of the Zifu. If it weren't for his understanding of Zhou Mubai as a person, Zhou Mingho even thought that Zhou Mubai lied in front of him. How could a mere foundation-building cultivator be so strong? Even though Qin Daoxian is a sword cultivator, this is too strong and completely unreasonable. The foundation establishment stage has surpassed a realm to compete with the Purple Palace stage. Anyway, the current Zhou Mubai can support Jindan cultivator for a while at most, and it is impossible to fight back and forth with the opponent. Everyone, the reply from Qinyuan Sword Sect is here. Zhou Mingho's first sentence made everyone including Qin Daoxian concentrate. Recently, the cultivators from the Zhou family's Purple House who were present were all restless when they heard the news that Shinju Jinren was still alive. After all, how much trauma the Shinjue rebellion caused to the Zhou family has been recorded in detail in the clan. Patriarch, below the main hall, an elder from the Zhou family cupped his hands and asked, "I don't know how Qinyuan Jianzong responded." Chapter 151. Dispose of it yourself. Zhou Mingho replied. This? Hearing this, everyone looked at each other in dismay. What is self-disposal? It means that the Qinyuan Sword Sect is left alone, and Yu Guang'an House and other Cangzhou cultivators can figure it out for themselves? Zhou Mubai and Qin Daoxian frowned slightly. Based on their understanding of Qinyuan Sword Sect, it is logically impossible for the other party to say the words to deal with it on their own. Unless. Long line for big fish. The two looked at each other and immediately thought of this possibility. Shinjue Jinren is hiding behind the scenes now, so what if Qinyuan Jianzong sends a few Yuanying Jinjuan to Guang'an Mansion? The big deal is to exterminate this corpse. but it does not solve the trouble of Shenzhou. Only wiping out the corpse chaos in Guang'an Prefecture will undoubtedly cure the symptoms but not the root cause. In this way it is better to divide this battle line into two parts, light and dark. The cultivators of Guang'an Mansion confronted the corpse servants refined by Shinjue Jinren in the bright light. When Shinjue Jinren couldn't help but jump out in person, the secret hand arranged by Qinyuan Jianzong would be dispatched. Catch this mouse that has been hiding for 400 years. Only in this way can the problem of God Zhu Jinren be completely solved. Zhou Mingho understood this deep meaning, Zhou Mubai understood it, and Qin Daoxian understood it too. But it seems that the elders of the Zhou family didn't understand a little, and they all had an indignant expression. This time, Qin Daoxian immediately admired the person who made this decision by Qinyuan Jianzong. Only by acting like enough can you catch big fish. The group of Zhou family elders in the main hall who do not know the truth and are incensed are undoubtedly the best actors. Patriarch, since Qinyuan Jianzong doesn't care about us, we don't have to beg Bai Lai to beg them. This matter we Guang'an Mansion cultivators solved by ourselves. Anyway, in the Zhenangguan battle, the Qinyuan Jianzong was extremely unfair to our Zhangzhou cultivator. Speaking of this, everyone became more excited. The injustice of Zhenangguan campaign has always been a thorn in everyone's heart. Because Yi Wudao, the ancestor of the Yi family who fled before battle, not only was not executed, but only symbolically punished him for 100 years. This is no punishment, it's clear favoritism. Protect. Just because Yi Wudao has a good father who is the third elder in Qinyuan Jianzong. Otherwise, based on what Yi Wudao did, the major families in Zhangzhou might directly unite to tear him apart. What about cultivator Jindan? The Zhangzhou cultivators add up to more than 10 million people. Among them, there is no shortage of Qinjiao Zifu that is comparable to Zhou Mubai. Yi Wudao can stop one Zhou Mubai, can he stop the second one and the third one? What's more, there are hundreds or thousands of cultivators in Zhangzhou Zifu. He is a cultivator in the early stage of Jindan and Yi Wudao, how can he resist? But because of Yi Wudao's background and the decree of Qinyuan Jianzong, the Zhangzhou cultivator could only smash his teeth and swallow it. Okay, Zhou Mingho stood up from the throne of the patriarch. Since everyone thinks that our Guang'an cultivators can solve it on our own, it's better for me, the Zhou family, to take the lead. Together with the Yang family, the Wu family, and the Chen family on Shuanghu Island, we sent out invitations to invite colleagues from Guang'an Prefecture to discuss the formation of a coalition army. What do you think? This? The elders of the Zhou family just called him fierce, but when he thought that he was going to fight against the peerless murderer Shinjue, he still felt a drumbeat in his heart. After all, at that time, the real Shinjue who held the inheritance of the immortals, but the existence of killing Jindan was like killing a dog. There are so few Jindan cultivators in Zhangzhou. Otherwise, in the other states of Wangxinghai, there would be very few Jindan cultivators like Zhangzhou and several neighboring states. The Zhou family was also beaten by Shinjue Jinren back then. Relying on this fifth-order mountain protection formation, they forced their way to the arrival of reinforcements from the Qinyuan sword sect. This solved the danger of the Zhou family. Otherwise, the reinforcements of Qinyuan Jianzong would be delayed for a few days. The Zhou family disappeared in the history of Wanxinghai just like the other disappearing Zhangzhou clans. After all, Shinjue Jinren did extremely terrifying things back then, and he gathered an army of loose cultivators under his hands to burn, kill and everywhere. Every time I went to a cultivator family, it was a meal of killing and robbing, and then setting fire to burn everything on the spiritual veins. It's utterly insane. In addition to not destroying the spiritual veins, there was nothing that Shinjue Jinren dared not do in those days. Even more so, the major families in Zhangzhou united to form a coalition to destroy him, but found that this guy was more slippery than the loach. Whenever the moment of desperation is reached, Shinjue Jinren can always rely on the magical instruments inherited from the immortals to escape and save their lives. Made everyone extremely helpless. Now it seems. Qinyuan Jianzong probably only seriously injured him back then, and did not catch and kill him. Zhou Mingho saw everyone hesitate and his face suddenly sank. Why, everyone was so noisy just now, and now they are all dumb and afraid of death? Hear this exhilaration. How can the elders of the Zhou family endure it? I saw an elder from the Zhou family jumping out of the crowd, swearing and swearing. If I, Zhou Mingyue, are afraid of death, I will only teach you to be killed by lightning. Boom boom boom. A muffled thunder sounded. This Zhou family elder actually made a great vow in public. This time, everyone was infected by his emotions, stood up one by one and said loudly, "No regrets." It's a big deal to fight with them. Yes. Fight with them. Am afraid of a bird's egg. I was in Zenangwan back then and I broke through in my life. Am also afraid of a few little zombies. It's a joke. That is. Zhou Mingho saw the strong fighting spirit in everyone's eyes, and the smile in his eyes flashed away. Well done. Well done. It's about the emotion and expression that looks like death. Zhou Mingho nodded secretly in his heart. Out of the hall, Chen Daoxian handed farewell to Zhou Muqing and said, "It will take a month at the earliest to inform the colleagues of Guang'an, and it will probably take a few months to form a coalition army. The younger brother has to go home first, otherwise he will always be vaguely concerned." Zhou Mubai certainly knew what Qin Daoxuan's concern was referring to. Immediately comforted, "Brother Qin, don't worry, the Zhao family is on the right of my Lingbei Island, and your Qin family Shuanghu Island is on the left of my Lingbei Island. Even if they want to go to your Qin family they have to pass my Zhou family." What? Having said that, if you don't go back you will always feel uneasy and you will be uneasy. Having said all that, Zhou Mubai couldn't hold back any longer, so he could only hold hands and say, "Take care all the way." Well, brother Zhou is precious. Say it. Qin Daoxian turned into an escape light and flew in the direction of Lingrui City. He hasn't forgotten that before he left Qin Xinha alone in Lingrui City. A few days have passed now. I don't know if Qin Xinha is still in Lingrui City. In terms of emotion and reason he should go to Lingrui City to have a look first. Qin Daoxian had a hunch that fighting against the real Xinju would not happen overnight, even if there were secret hands arranged by Qinyuan Jianzong. Because from the fact that this guy can hide for 400 years, it can be seen that this is a character who is wretched to the extreme. Without absolute certainty, it is impossible for him to end up in person. Chapter 152. After a few hours, Qin Daoxuan's escape light landed outside Lingrui City. Before he could enter Lingrui City, a Yang family cultivator who was waiting at the city gate recognized Qin Daoxian. This cultivator of the Yang family is in the middle of the year, and his appearance is Zhou Zheng and he looks quite favorable. "Are you Qin Daoxian, your friend Qin Daoxian?" Daoist is. Qin Daoxian didn't recognize who the other party was for a while, and he could only recognize the cultivator of the Yang family through his clothes. The middle-aged cultivator cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Fellow Daoist, please don't misunderstand me. This is the first time the two of us have met. I am under the order of the Patriarch, and we are waiting for fellow Daoists here." "Oh? Old Ancestor Yang's order?" Qin Daoxian moved in his heart. "Exactly, fellow Daoist, please?" The middle-aged cultivator said and made a pleased gesture. Qin Daoxian nodded. "Dao Yu leads the way. This is Lingrui City, and because he is a master of art, he is not afraid of anyone pretending to be a Yang family cultivator to harm him." After a stick of incense, the escape of the two stopped in front of the Yang family land. This is the second time Qin Daoxian has come to the Yang family land. Last time I came, he was only a cultivator at the chi-refining stage. Although his strength was not weak, he could even kill a female cultivator of the Izumo country in the early stage of foundation building with his bare hands. But compared with the current strength, there is no doubt a world of difference. After fighting with different enemies several times, Qin Daoxian has basically determined his upper limit of strength, which is probably different from the monks in the early days of Zifu. The only place he is currently worse than the early cultivator of the Zifu is probably on defense. In short, the current Qin Daoxian can barely be regarded as a slightly weak early Zifu cultivator. This is the foundation of forging the foundation of the strongest swordsmanship. Qin Daoxian also had a guess as to why the Yang family was looking for him. Undoubtedly he was interested in him, the second sword cultivator in Guang'an Prefecture, and wanted to invest a sum in him in advance. The reason why the big family is standing still. In addition to the family background, the invisible personal connections are also another magic weapon for them to continue the family. For example, Zhou Mubai and Qin Daoxian experienced a life and death friendship. When the Zhou family was in trouble, Zhou Mubai begged to come to the door, and Qin Daoxian could just sit back and watch. Obviously not possible. That's what the Yang family was thinking at the moment. Although it is a little late to invest in Qin Daoxian, it is better than doing nothing at all, right? With Yang Linyuan's shrewdness, how could he not understand this truth? So, Qin Daoxian met Yang clan head again in front of Linghu, where he met Yang Linyuan last time. To Qin Daoxuan's surprise, besides the white-haired Yang Linyuan, there was also a white-haired old man who was chatting with Yang Linyuan. Beside the two, a beautiful woman stood beside them like a maid. Qin Daoxian immediately recognized that the woman standing beside the two was none other than Yang Gongwan, a cultivator of the Yang family. Uncle 13. From a distance Qin Daoxian called out. Qin Xin had turned his head, glanced at Qin Daoxian and then smiled at Yang Linyuan. Brother Yang just said my nephew is here. Ha ha ha. Yang Linyuan laughed, stood up and cupped his hands towards Qin Daoxian. Fellow Daoist Qin, stay safe. Senior Lao Yang is worried and everything is fine for this junior. Qin Daoxian bowed his hands indifferently. Seeing Qin Daoxian's expression, Yang Linyuan coughed and said, Wainer, why don't you apologize to fellow Daoist Qin? Saying that, she gave Yang Gongwan a look. Hearing this, Yang Gongwan bit her red lips lightly, then bowed her head and said, Wainer provoked the relationship between Qin and Wu a few days ago. Talking. He looked at Qin Daoxian with pitiful eyes. Seeing her sincere apology, the little grudge in Qin Daoxian's heart disappeared. From Yang Gongwan's point of view, he could understand why the other party wanted to provoke the relationship between Qin and Wu. Because of the Lingrui city led by the Yang family, the supply of magic tools was basically provided by the Wu family. In this way, the Wu family undoubtedly mastered one of the lifelines of Lingde city. This made the Yang family quite uneasy, and it was urgent to find a new force to balance the Wu family's monopoly on the market of magical instruments in Lingzhou city. This new force is the Qin family. Therefore, Yang Gongwan wanted to provoke the relationship between the two families, and the purpose was to prevent the Qin and Wu families from joining forces to monopolize the market of magical instruments in Lingzhou city. But in Qin Daoxian's view, Yang Gongwan's behavior is really naive. Because both the Qin family and the Wu family are famous for refining utensils. The reason why there is no major conflict between the two now is that the Qin family specializes in the low-end magic weapon market, while the Wu family's magic tools are mainly concentrated on first-order high-grade magic tools and second-order magic tools. And the Wu family's customer base is mainly family children. However, with the improvement of the Qin family's level of refining and the increase in the number of refining masters in the clan, it is a matter of time before the Qin and Wu families will conflict. Unless the Qin and Wu families can open up the market for instruments other than Guang'an House. But if you want to do business outside of Guang'an House, the requirements for family prestige are not ordinary. Otherwise, if you go to someone else's territory, you will be very likely to be suppressed. Currently in Guang'an Prefecture, only the Zhou family has the strength to expand their business to the entire Cangzhou. Even the Yang family, the second largest family in Guang'an Prefecture, only monopolized the ship business in Guang'an Prefecture, and did not expand this business to other provinces. I've long forgotten some small things. Fairy Yang doesn't have to care anymore. Qin Daoxian arched his hands. Hearing this, Yang Linyuan laughed and said, Yes, a little bit of grudge, just say it. But having said that, after all, my Yang family made a mistake first and it's not enough to apologize. After that, he looked at Yang Gongwan. Wainer, why don't you take out the things? Oh. Yang Gongwan made a playful expression, and immediately took out a sword box from the storage bag. Opened the sword box in public. I saw a sword chi rising into the sky, and as the sword chi gradually subsided, a flying sword overflowing with spiritual light appeared in front of Qin Daoxian. Tier 3 flying sword. Qin Daoxian looked at Yang Linyuan in horror and cupped his hands. Senior Yang, with all due respect, this apology is too precious, no merit will not be rewarded, please forgive this junior for not accepting it. Ugh. Hearing this, Yang Linyuan sighed. It seems that fellow Daoist Qin still refuses to forgive my Wainer. This? Having said all that, it is impossible for him not to accept this apology. However, this is the third-order flying sword. And it is a third-order high-grade flying sword. If this flying sword was sold at the auction house, it would at least be able to fetch a sky-high price of more than 1 million spirit stones. This kind of rare treasure, the Yang family actually gave it away. You must know that the flying sword that Zhou Mubai used was only a third-tier high-grade sword. But in the blink of an eye, when he thought of the power of the third-order high-grade flying sword, Qin Daoxian was a little hard to hold on to himself. Although the third-order high-grade Feijian is worth more than 1 million spirit stones, it does not mean that you can buy it if you spend 1 million spirit stones. Because treasures of this level are of the type that can be encountered but not sought after. If you want to buy it, it depends on how lucky you are. Although I really want this flying sword in my heart. But Qin Daoxian still cast an inquiring look at Qin Xianhe. Chapter 153. Seeing that Qin Daoxian was silent, Yang Linyuan knew his concerns, cupped his hands and said sternly, Qin Daoxian doesn't have to be concerned. My Yang family's move was indeed because Weiner acted recklessly a few days ago and wanted to apologize to fellow Taoists. Second, it is to form a good relationship with Qin Daoyu, and there is no other intention. Just for a good relationship? Yang Linyuan nodded. That's all. That's all there is to say. If Qin Daoxian refused again, he would be at a loss. He looked at the sword box that Yang Gongwan respectfully offered with both hands, and took out the third-order high-grade flying sword overflowing with spiritual light, and he couldn't help but feel emotional for a while. As a sword cultivator, Qin Daoxian is naturally a sword lover. This flying sword was the best quality flying sword he had ever encountered. Compared with the two natal flying swords he refined, there is no doubt that there is a difference between heaven and earth. Seeing Qin Daoxian accept the flying sword, Yang Linyuan stroked his beard and said with a smile, "This flying sword has no name yet, and fellow Daoist Chen can give it a name." Heard. Qin Daoxian looked at the body of the Feijian sword under the reflection of the Linghu Lake, emitting bursts of rainbow light, and his mind moved. Look at its rainbow light, why don't you call it the Rainbow Light Sword? Rainbow Sword, good name. Yang Linyuan nodded. After accepting the gift from the Yang family, the atmosphere among the crowd suddenly became harmonious. It was unpleasant before, but it was completely over. Under chat, Qin Daoxian told Yang Linyuan what he saw on Lotus Island and the reply of Qinyuan Jianzong. Obviously. Although Yang Linyuan knew that something had happened to the Zhao family, he didn't know that the situation was so serious, and he didn't even know that the incident had alarmed Qinyuan Jianzong. Now, whether it was Qin Shenhe or the grandson and grandson of the Yang family, they were all speechless. Obviously they were shocked by what Qin Daoxian said, and they couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. A long time. Yang Linyuan sighed and said, "It's an eventful autumn." His tone was desolate, and he obviously felt sadness in his heart for the extermination of the Zhao family, who was also a big family in Guang'an Prefecture. Although his Yang family is stronger than the Zhao family, their strength is limited. If the Yang family was attacked this time, it might not be much better than the Zhao family. After all, his Yang family is also a purple mansion, and the other party has at least 2 purple mansion complete combat power, plus a group of foundation building corps servants. If they have mental calculations, they may not be able to resist. Thinking of this, the grandparents of the Yang family suddenly felt a sense of urgency in their hearts. Not only Yang Linyuan, Qin Shenhe also felt a sense of horror in his heart. Compared with the Zhou family and the Yang family, the strength of the Qin family was simply weak. Although there is a combat power comparable to Qin Daoxian in the early days of Zifu. But although Qin Daoxian is strong, how can one person protect so many young monks and mortals in the Qin family? Thinking of this, Qin Shenhe couldn't help but worry. The grandsons of the Yang family and Qin Shenhe are now the only backbone, probably pinning their hopes on the coalition led by the Zhou family. This moment. It was only then that Yang Linyuan discovered that when something really happened, no matter what the layout and calculations were, it was not as useful as his tough strength. He believed that although the Zhou family would be nervous, they would never be afraid. At least they won't be afraid of 2 zombies with complete strength in the Purple Mansion. To tell the truth, these 2 zombies with the complete strength of Zifu, that is, relying on the advantages of the formation, can compete with Zhou Mubai. In normal circumstances, they are not Zhou Mubai's opponents at all. How could the Zhou family be afraid of such an opponent? In the final analysis, the only strength in this world is fundamental. After the Qin family uncle and nephew bid farewell, Yang Linyuan watched the 2 leave and stood in the pavilion for a long time, reluctant to speak. "Grandfather. I want to break through the Purple Palace period." Yang Gongwan's eyes were firm. Hearing this, Yang Linyuan's eyes softened and he said softly, "Are you waiting?" Yang Gongwan shook her head. "No, wait, with my water spirit body coupled with the practice of water attribute exercises, although it is not as good as the true essence after the sword will temper, it is much stronger than the monks of the same rank. Most importantly, I don't want to be helpless when the Yang family encounters the same thing in the future, and I can only watch your grandfather do your best." "Oh my dear, it's the family that has delayed you," Yang Linyuan said with emotion. Yang Gongwan smiled and shook her head. "Scott." A flash of light passed by at high speed. In the elusive light, Qin Daoxian and Qin Shenhe stood side by side on the flying sword with a sword light of about 10 feet long. Long silence. Qin Shenhe took the lead and said, "I didn't expect things to turn out like this." "Yes." Qin Daoxian nodded. "Millions of Zhao's clansmen were destroyed in one day, and the real Xinjue is far more cruel and vicious than the rumors, and there are still loose cultivators who don't know the truth saying that he is a hero. Having said that, Qin Daoxian shook his head. For the actions of Xin Juezhen, anyone who has carefully understood him will definitely scoff at him. Although this person is far more powerful than a cultivator of the same level, he is definitely a cancer in Sangzhou and even the surrounding states. He gathered a group of loose cultivators back then to burn, kill, and loot the major immortal cultivators, not because of the uneven distribution of cultivation resources between loose cultivators and family cultivators, but for himself. Shinjue Jinren cultivated a secret method of spiritual consciousness, which required a lot of spiritual medicine to restore spiritual consciousness. This is the root cause of his burning and plundering. Unlike the rumors of later generations, Shinjue Jinren is a hero in the loose cultivator. It is for the loose cultivator to fight injustice, and it is also because of him that Chenyuan Jianzong will choose to attack the Cloud Country and strive for the benefit of the loose cultivator. This statement is completely nonsense. Chenyuan Jianzong attacked the country of Yunyun, although there were certain factors that passed on internal contradictions, but it was definitely not because of a mere real person. He did not have such a big face. Only. Everything about Xin Juezhen was strictly sealed by the major families. The reason for this is because the surviving major families lost too much in the chaos of Gaju that year, and they are shameless to publicize them everywhere. Blocking the news has become a matter of course. In this way, the loose cultivators had no choice but to use their brains to guess. As a result, all kinds of legends about the real person of Xinjue continue to circulate in the market. In fact, none of these legends are reliable. Qin Daoxian also read the ancient books of the Zhou family, and then he learned the truth of the chaos of the gods. Hear what Qin Daoxian said. Qin Xinhe nodded, his eyes were deep and said, "However, this time against the corpse tide for us is both a danger and an opportunity." Heard. Qin Daoxian moved in his heart. He suddenly understood what the opportunity in Qin Ziyan's mouth was referring to. This time, Guang'an Prefecture formed a coalition army to fight the corpse tide. The demand for magic tools must be huge. In normal times, the environment of Guang'an Prefecture is relatively stable. Coupled with the constraints of Chenyuan Jianzong and Zhou family, generally few people dare to use force in Guang'an Prefecture. In this way, the necessity of magic tools is greatly reduced. Many scattered cultivators do not buy magic tools. The price factor is only one aspect. On the other hand, it is also related to the stable environment of Guang'an Prefecture. But it's different now. Guang'an is about to go to war. Let me ask, which cultivator dares to find trouble with this group of zombies empty-handed? Chapter 154. Besides, the Zhao family is a family famous for alchemy, and the alchemist in the family is second only to the Zhou family. Even from the perspective of the ratio of alchemists, the Zhao family is the #1 alchemy family in Guang'an Prefecture. Now that the Zhao family has been destroyed, the medicine pill market in Guang'an Prefecture is almost half empty. Such a big market gap for medicinal pills needs someone to make up for it. Who will make up for it? Compared to the magic weapon market, the profit of the medicine pill market is even more terrifying. There was no alchemy inheritance in the Qin family before. Even if you want to get involved in it, there is no way. Now it is different. The Qin family has the inheritance of alchemy, and they are still training alchemists in batches. Perhaps, their Qin family can take a big profit in this gap in the medicine market. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxuan's originally depressed mood became cheered up again. In Wangxinghai and even Xianyunzhu, the ups and downs of major cultivation forces are common. Qin Daoxian feels he can't feel it at all. All he has to do is to continuously grow the strength of the family. When the Qin family encounters the same thing, tell the enemy with iron-like strength that they have provoked the wrong object. Qin Daoxuan's escape was extremely fast. Less than half a day. Shuanghu Island is faintly in sight. Seeing the quiet and peaceful Shuanghu Island, Qin Daoxian and Qin Xinhe both breathed a sigh of relief. It was exactly what Zhou Mubai said. The outbreak of corpse chaos should be centered on the Zhao family and continue to spread outward. From the map of Guang'an, the next person who will be hit by the corpse tide is probably the Wu family. Because Wu's house is not far from Zhao's house, it is only a mere 10,000 miles away. The corpse chaos wants to spread to the Qin family on Shuanghu Island. In theory, it should cross the Wu family, Zhou family and Lingrui city that are in front of them. Therefore, Shuanghu Island is a relatively safe rear of Guang'an Prefecture for the time being. Of course, once a war breaks out, there is no such thing as absolute safety. After all, this is Wangxinghai. These zombies are omnipotent. They can attack from the sky, and they can invade the islands of major families from the underwater world. It's just that they don't usually do that. The reason is simple. Just like the war between monks, it is necessary to build a fairy city and make steady progress. Every immortal city built by monks can not only provide spiritual energy for the monk army, but also provide logistical support for the monk army. The logistics here refers to instruments, spirit armor, spirit talismans, all kinds of medicinal herbs, etc. There is no such logistical support. The combat effectiveness of the monk army will be sharply reduced to a very low level, not to mention aggression against others, even if it is strong enough if it is not beaten by others until it cannot find bay. The same is true for these enful things that need to be tempered by suffocation and restore their own consumption. If zombies want to continue fighting, of course they have to consume. What they consume is the corpse energy stored in the corpse pill. How the corpse chi came from, it was the chi of refining and evil spirits. Therefore, the corpse tide must advance steadily like the army of monks. Based on the third order meridian of the Zhao family, it will continue to attack the surrounding spiritual meridians and transform them into meridians. From this angle, bear the brunt, most likely the Wu family and the Zhou family. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that this group of zombies will give up Guang'an House and directly attack Cangzhou Xianqing. But Cangzhou Xianqing is the clan of the Yi family. The Yi family is the most powerful family in Cangzhou. Zombies with complete strength in the two purple houses want to trouble the Yi family, no doubt they are looking for death. Even if Xinjue Jinren left enough hands for the Sun brothers, it would be difficult to find trouble with Cangzhou Xianqing in the first place. If it was Qin Daoxian, he would definitely take down Guang'an Mansion step by step. Then he transformed all the spiritual meridians of Guang'an Prefecture into meridians, refined the army of zombies, and attacked Cangzhou Xianqing in one fell swoop. In this way the entire Cangzhou can be turned into a zombie country step by step. Therefore, the first target the opponent will attack next is likely to be the Wu family. Because the Zhou family is too strong, they are not opponents at all. The Wu family is just right. It has a huge population and is not strong enough to pose a threat to the Sun brothers. It is the best target. Of course, the Zhou family will not wait for the other party to attack. Next, they will invite their colleagues from Guang'an Prefecture to form a coalition army and break through the corpse refining grounds on Lotus Island. Landed with the light. Qin Daoxian and Qin Xinhe once again set foot on the land of Jianghu Island, feeling a burst of fulfillment in their hearts. Go and do your business, I'll go to the clan school to see. Qin Xinhe is now teaching Chen's children to learn Guiyuan Gong in ethnic studies. It seems that certain progress has been made. Thought about it. Qin Daoxian stopped Qin Xinhe and said, Uncle 13, I think the situation has changed now. The step-by-step training plan we planned before may have to be discussed in the long run again. What do you mean? Qin Daoxian nodded. What I mean is take Tong Mai pill for the first batch of immortal seedlings with blessing characters to help them embark on the path of cultivation. This? Qin Xinhe frowned then nodded, that's all it takes. He knew that now that the corpse was breaking out, Jianghu Island would not know when it would be in danger. It's not enough to develop slowly and steadily as before, we have to make big strides forward. Including the 9-year compulsory training system established by Qin Daoxian before, it must also be cancelled. Continue to use the system of entering the factory at the age of 8. He knew that there would be a turmoil in Guang'an that would spread throughout the whole province. Although the Zhou family will form a coalition to destroy the land of corpse refining on Lotus Island. But with the chaos of Xinjue that Qin Daoxian knew in ancient books, the zombies refined by the real people of Xinjue would never be so easily exterminated by the monks of Guang'an Prefecture. The two sides are likely to break out into a protracted war. The Qin family must do everything possible to enhance the family's strength. As for being low-key and afraid of revealing his strength, they were all thrown aside by Qin Daoxian. Now, as long as the Sun brothers dare to attack Jianghu Island with their corpse servants, I am afraid that the entire Jianghu Island, except Qin Daoxian, will not be able to survive. This kind of life and death moment, but also a low-key development. Mr. Qin Daoxian shouldn't have hoped that the Sun brothers could not find the location of Jianghu Island? What is the difference between this and stealing the bell? Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian immediately felt a sense of urgency. Qin Xinhe also knew the seriousness of the matter and immediately agreed with Qin Daoxian's suggestion. Daoxian, you can decide the family affairs in the future, and you don't need to ask my opinion again. Seeing that Qin Daoxian wanted to speak, Qin Xinhe raised his hand and said solemnly, I know that with the current strength of our Chen family, the possibility of wanting to survive this corpse chaos is extremely low, so we must recklessly strengthen the family's strength. I'm afraid it'll drag you down. Uncle 13. You don't have to say anything, you just need to remember that you are the patriarch of the Qin clan now, and you are in the safety of the entire clan. Qin Shenhe raised his hand. Heard the words. Qin Daoxian thought of the Zhao family whose entire clan was slaughtered, and nodded solemnly, I see, Uncle 13. Chapter 155, 3 months later. In the courtyard of Lingfu. Qin Daoxian looked at the strange-looking cylindrical instrument in his hand, his face full of excitement. Sure enough. Qin Daoxian said excitedly. Ever since he obtained the alchemy inheritance and learned the above-mentioned alchemy surgery, Qin Daoxian suddenly wondered if he could learn from some methods from his previous life to refine elixirs. There are several methods of refining medicine pills in the world of immortal cultivation. The mainstream method is fire alchemy. Fire alchemy means that the alchemist uses the alchemy furnace to remove the impurities in the elixir a little bit with the two flames of civil and military, and finally combines the essence left by the elixir into elixir. To sum it up, there are probably 2 steps, first, removing impurities, and second, synthesizing it into pills. Unlike the alchemy, these 2 steps of alchemy are very difficult. Whether it is to remove the impurities in the elixir, or to finally synthesize the elixir into a pill, the cultivator needs to use his spiritual sense and infuriating qi carefully, and make no mistakes in the middle. Otherwise, the impurities will not be removed cleanly, and the result will be waste pills. Although it is said that the waste pill has a certain medicinal effect, but compared with the medicinal effect, the erysipelas is more terrifying. Eating waste pills to eat dead people is no joke. Similarly, the impurities in the elixir have been removed, and if the final synthesis of the pill is not mastered, it will also fall short. For example, if the heat is not well controlled, and the strong tongue of fire directly burns the elixir to dryness. In short, the failure rate of alchemists in refining medicine pills is often higher than that of alchemists. Theoretically speaking, a batch of medicinal pills can be refined into 10 pills at most. But even an experienced first-order high-grade alchemist would be difficult to refine 10 first-grade low-grade elixir in one furnace, and it would always be necessary to refine a few of them. It's not that the alchemist did it on purpose, but it was too difficult to make 10 pills. You know, to divide a pot of medicinal herbs into 10 parts, the alchemist needs to be distracted at the same time, and remove the impurities from each part of the elixir, and finally combine the 10 parts of the elixir into elixir. In this process no mistakes can be made. This kind of perverted request is difficult for even a senior alchemist to meet. And Qin Daoxian's whim. In the first step of alchemy, a special instrument called a centrifugal wall breaker was used to remove the impurities in the elixir. The working principle of this instrument is to use the different qualities of different components in the elixir to stratify the different components under the high-speed rotation of the centrifugal wall breaker. Among them, impurities are divided into one layer, and the essence of elixir is divided into another layer. Finally, use gravity to take out the layered elixir essence. In this way, the alchemist does not need to be distracted and control the flame to remove impurities. Waiting for the essence of the elixir to leak out directly under the centrifugal wall breaker, and then synthesizing it into a pill is done. And the alchemist can also control the speed at which the essence of the elixir leaks. For example, some alchemists can synthesize pills at a high speed, so they can adjust the speed at which the essence of the elixir leaks faster by controlling the valve. Some alchemists are slow in synthesizing pills so they can slow down the speed a bit, which is very humane. In this way there will be no more wasteful refining of medicinal pills. A traditional alchemist removes the impurities in the 10 pills at the same time, and then concocts 10 pills at the same time. The kind of alchemist that Qin Daoxian envisioned would only need to concentrate on refining one medicinal pill, and the centrifugal wall breaker would do the rest. Under such conditions just put a pig demon to operate, and it is estimated that practice makes perfect after a long time. After 3 months of experiments, Qin Daoxian finally refined this special magic weapon. According to the function of the centrifugal wall breaker he refined, when refining different medicinal herbs, the alchemist only needs to equip the corresponding number of centrifugal wall breakers according to the quantity of elixir. It is like refining the lowest level first-order low-grade spiritual pill, the Qi Hui pill. 3 elixir are required. At this time, only 3 centrifugal wall breakers are needed to extract the essence of the elixir at the same time. Finally, the essence of the spiritual liquid in the 3 centrifugal wall breakers is taken out from the bottom of the instruments, and then combined into a pill. Greatly improved the alchemy efficiency and success rate of alchemists. And these 2 points are directly related to the profit of the pill. If other alchemists refine a pot of elixir, the success rate is 70%, and you are 100%, the profit gap is huge. The success rate of a pot of elixir is 70%. If the cost is 100 spirit stones, the price is 50 spirit stones, and the profit is 250 spirit stones. If the success rate is 100%, the profit is 400 spirit stones, and the profit rate has suddenly increased by 60%. In addition to the improvement in the efficiency of alchemists, the profit margin is definitely far higher than that of the Qin family's Hongyin magic tool factory, which will become the second pillar industry of the Qin family. It is said that alchemists are the most profitable industry, and they are right. Qin Daoxian secretly said. Beautifully put the centrifugal wall breaker and the related jade slips for refining this magic tool into the storage bag. Qin Daoxian stood up. It is too late to popularize this magic tool now, because according to the agreement, today happened to be the day when the Zhou family invited colleagues from Guang'an to discuss the formation of a coalition army. Such a long time has passed. With the ability of the Zhou family, it must have been notified to the various families and loose cultivators in Guang'an Prefecture. The annihilation of the entire Zhao family caused a huge panic among the scattered cultivators in Guang'an Prefecture. After all, in the eyes of the loose cultivators, the Zhao family is the second largest family after the Zhou and Yang families, and the number of cultivators in the family is almost the same as that of the Wu family. Such a big family, if it is destroyed, it will be destroyed. Not to mention other small families and loose cultivators. This moment, everyone was apprehensive. There is no impermeable wall in the world, and the news that the Zhao family in Guang'an Prefecture was exterminated soon spread throughout Zhangzhou. Even the reason for the destruction of the Zhao family was deliberately spread by the Zhou family. The chaos of corpses, the real person, and all kinds of information that made people's eyebrows jump, stimulated the major families of Guang'an Prefecture to restless. Just when the heart is floating, Qinyuan Jianzong sent a message again, turning Zhangzhou into a new war zone. This time, Zhangzhou and other Wanxinghai monks will record their military exploits according to the strength and number of zombies killed. At that time, Qinyuan Jianzong will send special military record personnel to come to Zhangzhou to record the military exploits. This news immediately caused an uproar in the entire Zhangzhou cultivation world. Qinyuan Jianzong really didn't care, and took this corpse mess as a test for Zhangzhou cultivators. Some people of insight can see that there is a certain degree of military training in this. As for why Qinyuan Jianzong wanted to train troops in Zhangzhou, its purpose is self-evident. Izumo country. Zhenangwen. For more than 50 years, Zhangzhou cultivators lost Zhenangwen, which has never been forgotten. On the contrary, with the victories of other fronts, the loss of Zhenangwen was particularly dazzling. Coupled with the loss of Jinan Pass, it poses a serious threat to the defense system built by Qinyuan Jianzong. Therefore, in terms of emotion and reason, Qinyuan Jianzong is bound to take back Zhenangwen. Before that, the suppression of the corpse chaos in Guang'an was just a small test for the Zhangzhou cultivators. If the mere corpse can't be resolved, let alone the recovery of Zhenangwen. Anyway, most of the cultivators in the outside world think so. As for Shinjua Jinren, it was ignored by Qinyuan Jianzong intentionally or unintentionally. Chapter 156. Limba Island. When Qin Daoxian arrived at Lingbei Island, he found that the port of Guang'an was already seriously congested. This was the time when he had seen the most ships in Guang'an port, although there are usually too many of these ships. But at this moment, the sails of Guang'an port are almost larger than the city circle of Guang'an, stretching hundreds of miles on the sea. Feeling the solemn atmosphere of Guang'an Prefecture, Qin Daoxian took a deep breath and flew towards the Zhou family's residence in Xianqing of Guang'an Prefecture. For the sake of convenience, Guang'an Prefecture directly lifted the Forbidden Air formation today. Qin Daoxian remembered that the last time Guang'an Mansion came into contact with the air-forbidding formation was when the mermen attacked Guang'an Mansion. It's just that at that time everyone was playing with the mentality of watching a play. But this time, everyone was obviously not in the mood to watch the play. After all, the bones of the millions of Zhao family members are not yet cold. The facts of Shui Linlin told them that this time, the catastrophe of the monks in Guang'an Prefecture is coming. The light flashed away. Landed at Zhou's residence in the blink of an eye. Speaking of which, this is the second time Qin Daoxian has come to the Zhou family's residence. The last time he came here, he was looking for Zhou Mubai to seek Qin Ziyan's method of building a foundation. This time, it was for the common destiny of the monks in Guang'an. Although Qin Daoxian knew it well, Qinyuan Jianzong probably arranged a secret hand. But he knew better that Chenyuan Jianzong might sacrifice the monks of Guang'an House in order to destroy the real Shinjua. They are not only the front line on the bright side, but also the bait to lure the gods. If you think that Chenyuan Jianzong has arranged a secret hand, the monks of Guang'an House can sit back and relax, and it is estimated that they will not even know how they died. This point Zhou clan head and Zhou Mubai also saw clearly. Therefore their faces are very solemn at the moment, and they don't seem to have a backhand at all. The foundation building cultivator in Guang'an Mansion couldn't help but feel heavier when he saw the expression on the Zhou family's ancestor. Brother Zhou. Seeing Zhou Mubai, who was welcoming the fellow practitioners in front of the resident palace dojo, Qin Daoxian bowed his hands and said, "Brother Qin." Seeing Qin Daoxian, Zhou Mubai, who had been on the verge of life and death, showed a smile and said, "Go ahead and sit down and talk later." "Okay." Qin Daoxian nodded and walked into the palace. Step into the palace. The interior is almost full of monks. Although this palace is extremely huge, normally it can accommodate tens of thousands of monks. But this time, more base-building monks came to Guang'an, estimated to be nearly 50,000. This time, almost all of the foundation-building cultivators in the loose cultivator group came. There is no way the psychological impact of the destruction of the Zhao family was too great, and everyone was looking for a backbone at this moment. The powerful Zhou family undoubtedly has the qualifications to be the backbone. As for the Guang'an Immortal League, it is completely ignored by everyone. Usually it's okay to go to Lingzhou City to do business, but when it's time to work hard you have to look at the Zhou family. No monk is a fool in this matter. Followed Qin Daoxian into the hall. The cultivators who recognized him gave him a place, bowed their heads slightly and showed a respectful attitude. "This is the second sword cultivator in our Guang'an prefecture? Right? I heard that he is a monk from a small family. Really terrifying talent." Everyone communicated with each other and talked a lot. In fact, there is no need to listen carefully, just by looking at the expressions of the crowd, Qin Daoxian knew that they were talking about him. But Qin Daoxian didn't care at all. With his current strength he doesn't care about these discussions anymore. Before he knew it, he was no longer on the same level as the foundation establishment monks present. Even if it is the most basic real essence, Qin Daoxian's real essence is far higher than that of the late foundation building cultivator in terms of quality and quantity. Not to mention the bonus of Kendo realm to strength. For various reasons, Qin Daoxian now stands at the height of a cultivator of the Zifu. Was thinking. A monk from the Zhou family trotted over, bowed his hands at Qin Daoxian and said, "Senior Qin, where is your position?" This Zhou family cultivator is also a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building, so he actually called him senior. Qin Daoxian knew that all this was a change brought about by strength. If he is not a sword cultivator but a cultivator in the early stage of foundation establishment, then he is no different from other foundation cultivators in the hall. Not to mention being invited to the high platform of the main hall. A discerning person can see that those who can sit on the high platform are either strong or have a deep family background. There are only a few people in that Qin Daoxian knows. They were Zhou Mingho, the head of the Zhou family, Yang Linyuan, the head of the Yang family, Wu Guangyi, the head of the Wu family, and a Zifu cultivator whom Qin Daoxian had never seen before. It was estimated that he was a Zifu loose cultivator. You must know that it is quite rare for a scattered practitioner to cultivate to the Purple House. At least it is quite rare in Wangxinghai, but it is very common in the battlefield of Izumo. The one in front of him seems to have come back from the battlefield of Izumo on purpose. Because Qin Daoxian was on him, he could feel an aura very similar to Zhou Muqing. That is a kind of murderous and evil spirit left after a long-term fight. With this murderous aura, just staring at an ordinary foundation cultivator can make the foundation cultivator feel weak. But this murderous aura had no effect on Qin Daoxian. He is someone who has even fought against the zombies who have completed the Purple Mansion. Even if he is far from being the opponent of the Zifu complete zombie, Qin Daoxian can no longer be suppressed by this level of momentum. Even Qin Daoxian could hold Zhou Mubai's aura, let alone the Zifu cultivator in front of him. Glancing at Qin Daoxian, the cultivator of Zifu who was wearing a red Taoist robe full of red hair, and a face of wanton insolence, laughed loudly. It is said that in addition to Zhou Mubai, our Guang'an residence has a second sword cultivator. See you today? Really extraordinary. Brother Zhang is joking. Is there anything ordinary about Jianxiu? Zhou Mingho said with a smile. Yes, of course there is. The cultivator of Zifu, who was called Brother Zhang by Zhou Mingho, shook his head. Jianxiu is also divided into strong and weak. Although Jianxiu claims to be the number one in attacking at the same level, it is not absolutely invincible at the same level. There are ordinary cultivators like me who can rival sword cultivators of the same level. Speaking of this, he paused. Isn't the servant of Shinjua Jinren a typical example? Everyone was silent when they heard him say that God is a real person. Obviously, Shinjuejin is a taboo for everyone. After all, the damage this person once brought to the family here is too great. Qin Daoxian walked up to the crowd, bowed his hands in a salute and said, Daoxian has seen all the seniors. Take a seat, Zhou Mingho said with a smile. Qin Daoxian cupped his hands again and sat on the seat. His seat was arranged between Wu Guangyi and Zhou Mingho, the second position from the top. Sitting high on the throne of the main hall, looking down at the monks below, Qin Daoxian couldn't help but feel a different feeling in his heart. Today's seat not only symbolizes strength, but also the status of each family in Guang'an in the future. Unconsciously, the Qin family on Shuanghu Island has come to where it is today under the influence of Qin Daoxian. Chapter 157. You fellows? Inside the main hall, Zhou Mingho, the head of the Zhou family, resounded throughout the audience and immediately suppressed the buzzing discussion below. Qin Daoxian sat on the throne of the high platform, looking at the dark crowd below, silent. Seeing that the hall has returned to quiet, Zhou Mingho nodded and continued, everyone should know that the entire Zhao family was destroyed 3 months ago. Today I, the Zhou family, the Yang family, the Wu family and the Qin family invite all of you to come here, just to discuss how to solve the corpse on Lianhua Island. If you have any opinions you can put them forward now. The words fall. There was another quarrel below. Cough. The mana was agitated and everyone felt their whole body tighten slightly, and the hall became quiet again. Zhou Laozu, at this time a loose cultivator in the later stage of foundation building, stood up and cupped his hands. Since our Guang'an people are gathered here today, we must be willing to obey the leadership of the Zhou family. So, what to do next? The Zhou family just comes up with the articles of association and he'll just do it. It's extremely your Zhou family said, we will do it accordingly. Right? The response below became a chorus. Seeing this scene, Zhou Mingho nodded with satisfaction and said, that being the case, I suggest that our Guang'an monks form a coalition army, which will be led by my Zhou family. And invite the powerful monks from Guang'an Prefecture to be the leaders, command this army of monks, and wipe out the corpses on the Lotus Island together. Okay, that's a good move. That's a good idea. In the main hall, the cultivators kept nodding their heads. Qin Daoxian didn't need to look at it to know that those who took the lead in speaking among these loose cultivators were basically arranged by the Zhou family deliberately. Of course. In essence, everyone hopes to follow the Zhou family and survive this catastrophe safely. Otherwise, the monks in Guang'an Mansion are not fools. How could they find a few supporters to make them follow him? Since everyone agrees to form a coalition army, then I hereby announce that the Guang'an Prefecture Coalition Force will be officially established immediately. Say it. Zhou Mingho continued, cultivators who are interested in joining the coalition army can sign up to join the army at my Zhou family cultivator after this meeting. Although they are not on the front line of the Izumo kingdom in this battle against the corpse tide, they can also obtain military exploits. Said. He pointed to the red-haired Taoist beside him and said loudly, this is Daoyu Zhang, who was transferred from the front line by Qinyuan Jianzong, who is responsible for recording everyone's military exploits. Many of the loose cultivators present have been to the battlefield of Izumo. Naturally know the military merit system of Qinyuan Jianzong. It can be said that the military merit system of Qinyuan Sword Sect is the biggest reason why one Xinghai loose cultivator can rise in just 400 years. Otherwise, with the monopoly of the cultivators in Wangxinghai on the resources of the cultivators, let alone the rise of the loose cultivators, even the aura of ordinary cultivation cannot be guaranteed. The Taoist surnamed Zhang heard the words, stood up, bowed his hands to everyone and then sat down. Everyone seemed to be unfamiliar with this cultivator of the Z residence surnamed Zhang, and after looking at him curiously, they stopped paying attention. Everyone still trusts the fairness of Qinyuan Jianzong's record of military exploits. This is the foundation of Qinyuan Jianzong's attack on Izumo, and there can be no problems. Look everyone. Zhou Mingho waved his sleeves and saw a vivid map of light and shadow appearing in everyone's sight over the hall. Qin Daoxuan's eyes narrowed, and he immediately recognized that this map of light and shadow was the map of Guang'an Prefecture. The center of the map is Limba Island at the foot of everyone. Lingbi Island is highlighted on the light and shadow map. Except Lingbei Island, the east of the map is the Lotus Island occupied by the corpses, and the northwest of the Lotus Island is the Wu family's Fengwu Island. The three islands of Lingbei Island, Wuxia Fengwu Island and Lianhua Island of Zhou's family just formed a zigzag-shaped terrain on the map. Yang's Jianghu Island is above Lingbei Island, which is due north. As for the Shuanghu Island of the Chen family, it is the farthest from everyone, and it is located in the rear of Guang'an Prefecture, which is due west of Lingbei Island. Theoretically, for the corpse tied on Lotus Island to spread to the Chen family's Shuanghu Island, the three defense lines of the Wu family, the Zhou family and the Yang family must be broken. With the Sun brothers' mere two purple houses, it is obviously impossible to achieve. Inside the main hall, Zhou Mingho continued, according to the terrain, I divided Guang'an Prefecture into 5 defense areas, namely the Central Defense Area, the Eastern Defense Area, the Southern Defense Area, the Northern Defense Area, and the Western Defense Area. Zhou Mingho paused. You can also see from the map that the Eastern Defense Zone has direct contact with Lotus Island, and will also be the front line of our coalition to fight against the corpse tied on Lotus Island. Therefore, the commander of this defense must have extraordinary strength. Therefore, I recommend my Zhou family Tianjiao Zhou Mubai to be the commander of this defense area. After, Zhou Mingho looked around the people in the hall. Everyone nodded. The shadow of the famous tree, Zhou Mubai assumed the post of the commander of the Eastern Defense Zone, and no one objected. In fact, even if Zhou Gol served as the commander of the coalition, no one would object. After all, Zhou Mubai's strength is there, and he was able to rank in the Zifu Qinjiao list at the age of less than 100 years old. His achievements were all killed by the flying sword in his hand. Seeing that there is no objection from the crowd, Zhou Mingho continued to announce, the Central Defense Zone will be located on Lingbei Island, and I will be in charge of the old man himself, and the commander of the Southern Defense Zone will be Zhou Mingyue, the third elder of the Zhou family. The Northern Defense Area is led by Yang Linyuan Yang Daoyu. As for the Western Defense Area, Zhou Mingho paused. Qin Daoyu will be the leader. Boom. It is good to say that in the end, the commander of the Western Defense Zone suddenly caused an uproar off the field. Immediately, some monks stood up against it. Zhou Laozu, we don't have any opinion on the arrangement of your first 4 defense zone commanders, but the candidates for the commander of the Western Defense Zone are still up for discussion. Yeah, old ancestor Zhou, although Dao Yuqin is a sword cultivator, but after all, he is only a foundation-building cultivator. Why not send a cultivator from the Zhou family to be the commander of the Western Defense Zone? Patriarch Zhou, fellow Daoist Qin, Lei Jin, have a straight temper, don't take offense, I think, isn't this a nonsense? That is. Let's choose the senior Zifu from the Zhou family to be the commander of the Western Defense Zone. Qin Daoxian couldn't help frowning when he saw the indignant rants of the monks in Guang'an Mansion. He didn't know why he became the commander of the Western Defense Zone. Although the Western Defense Zone is in the rear, basically there will be no wars, but it is a bit difficult to convince the commander to have a foundation-building cultivator assume the position. It is also a loss that Qin Daoxian is a sword cultivator, and his combat power is far superior to that of the cultivators of the same rank. Otherwise, some cultivators of the foundation establishment period might come out and ask him for advice. As long as Qin Daoxian is defeated, even old ancestor Zhou cannot continue to push him to be the commander of the Western Defense Zone. Seeing that everyone was so opposed to Qin Daoxian as the commander of the Western Defense Zone, Zhou Mingho also had a headache. Let Qin Daoxian serve as the commander of the Western Defense Zone, and Zhou Mingho naturally has his own considerations. Chapter 158. Compared to the other 4 zones. The Western Defense Zone is the least likely to encounter war, and there are no decent big families in the west of Lingbei Island, let alone the cultivators of the Zifu. If you want to take care of the Western Defense Area, you can only send cultivators from the Zifu from the Zhou family. Only. How can the Zhou family dare to divide too much of the Zifu battle power out? You must know that it is not only the Sun brothers who are full of strength in the Purple Mansion, but also the peerless murderer Shinju Jinren. At that time, once the war arose, Lingbei Island and other spiritual veins in the Zhou family's jurisdiction were attacked, and the Zhou family might not even be able to recruit the cultivators of the Zifu. Thus, it might be better not to split up at the beginning, but to concentrate on the eastern and central zones. Especially the eastern defense zone headed by Zhou Mubai. Say it again. The main purpose of setting up the western zone is not combat. It is to prevent this group of sinister things from passing through the Wangxinghai underwater world and attack the rear islands of Guang'an Prefecture, disrupting the deployment of Guang'an Prefecture's coalition forces. In this way, the strength requirements for the Western Defense Zone are not so high. With Chen Daoxuan's strength, he is fully qualified for this position. Without any choice. After Zhou Mingho's voice transmission communicated with Chen Daoxian, he said with a tough attitude, "Since you agree to join the coalition army, you must abide by the rules set by my Zhou family, otherwise, you should ask for another one." This time, everyone is no longer noisy. They gathered here not to seek shelter from the Zhou family. Now in the entire Guang'an mansion, except for the Zhou family, no other family can give them a sense of security. Now look at old ancestor Zhou's anger, how everyone dared to talk. But there are always those who are not afraid of death. Lei Jin is a typical example of a loose cultivator who is not afraid of death. Seeing him jumping out of the crowd, he cupped his hands and said, "Ancestor Zhou, everyone, I am willing to join the coalition, but I am unwilling to accept the leadership of a monk in the early stage of foundation building. They all say that swordsmen attack Wushuang and I have not learned Lei Jin before." Saying that, he looked at Chen Daoxian with burning eyes. "Lei Jin, you bastard." Zhou Mingho was very angry with him. But thinking of Lei Jin's reputation among loose cultivators, it's not easy to drive him out at this moment. After all, this time to exterminate the corpse tide, the cultivators of Guang'an Mansion must work together, especially the large number of loose cultivators. And Lei Jin is one of the representative figures in the foundation building scattered cultivator. This moment, Chen Daoxian knew that he could no longer be silent. To a certain extent, the division of several major defense zones in Guang'an Prefecture is also the sphere of influence of the major families of Guang'an Prefecture in the future. Unconsciously, the Chen family has reached the point where they can divide the cake under the hands of the Zhou family. I have to say, compared with the time when he and Qin Xinhe carefully visited the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion, the change was too great. Chen Daoxian knew that all of this stemmed from his own strength and potential, not the strength of the Qin family. If not, how does the Zhou family push a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building to be the commander of the Western Defense Zone? Think of this. Chen Daoxian stood up from the throne on the high platform. His voice was soft, but it rang in everyone's ears. "Fellow Taoist Lei Jin, right? Heard." Lei Jin cupped his hands and grinned. "Exactly. I don't know what kind of strength you think is qualified to be the commander of the Western Defense Zone?" This? Lei Jin was stunned. He just felt that Chen Daoxuan's cultivation was lower than his, so he rejected him as the commander of the Western Defense Zone from his heart. But Lei Jin knew that Chen Daoxian should be stronger than him in terms of strength. At this point, just look at Zhou Mubai. The first floor of the Purple Mansion will be able to beat the Purple Mansion to death in the later stage. On the third floor of the Purple Mansion it was 1 against 4, and 2 of the Purple Mansion were complete. Not only that, with 1 enemy in 4, you can also press the opposite side to fight. One can imagine how terrifying Jian Xiu is. In a heads-up match, Lei Jin is naturally not an opponent, but he doesn't admit it and said in front of everyone, "It's nothing as long as your strength can convince me." He was talking about convincing, not defeating him. The difference here is huge. Chen Daoxian even hung him up and hammered him, but he was not convinced, but it was still useless. Of course, at that point, the other loose cultivators wouldn't continue to accompany Lei Jin. After all, other scattered cultivators were dissatisfied with Chen Daoxuan's position as the commander of the Western Defense Zone, which was based on a lack of understanding of his strength. If Chen Daoxuan's strength is strong enough. Of course no one objected. In the final analysis, as the commander of the major defense areas, it is still the individual strength of the monk. In this regard, family heritage has to stand aside. For example, in the Wu family, no one is the commander of the major defense areas. After all, the strongest Wu family is just an ordinary foundation building cultivator. Putting it in front of the Zifu cultivator is simply not enough to see. Chen Daoxian nodded. "Since that's the case, it's better for you and me to discuss it." "Okay, have fun." Lei Jin shouted, "Go, this place is too small to be used, you can go out with me." Heard. Chen Daoxian shook his head. Seeing this, Lei Jin sneered, "Why, you are afraid?" "Do not." Chen Daoxian said indifferently, "I think it's pretty good here, there's no need to go out so troublesome." "It's good here?" Lei Jin frowned. "What do you mean?" "It's no fun, are you going to fight?" With that said, Chen Daoxian flew to the center of the hall, took out the flying sword of life and kept spinning around him. Lei Jin was agitated by him, and he didn't care that this was the inside of the main hall. Directly, the imperial envoy Fei Jin attacked him. Who knows, Fei Jin pierced Chen Daoxuan's figure, but not even a drop of blood came out. Not good. Lei Zhen was vigilant in his heart, raised his consciousness to the limit, desperately trying to find the trace of Qin Daoxian, but found nothing. Next moment, a voice entered Lei Zhen's ears. Too slow. When the words fell, a mouthful of Feijin Jinmang was swallowed, hovering on Lei Zhen's neck, and a strand of hair slowly fell. Qin Daoxian stood less than 3 meters away from him. At the beginning, Qin Daoxian used the technique of transforming his body into sword light to deal with the zombie, but it was difficult to cause damage to the opponent. But to deal with the Foundation Establishment cultivator, it is simply a one-sided killing. Lei Zhen didn't even react at all, and was put on his neck by Fei Jian. If the two really fight, doesn't it mean that Qin Daoxian can kill him with a single sword? Thinking of this, Lei Zhen couldn't help shivering. I thought he was at the top level among the Foundation Establishment cultivators, if not the strongest. But unexpectedly, Qin Daoxian was defeated by a sword. This feeling is very uncomfortable. Although Lei Zhen did not use all means, why did Qin Daoxian use all means? In this way, the real strength gap between the two may be even greater. Are you convinced? Qin Daoxian took the flying sword of his life back to the Sea of Qi in his dantian and asked. Hearing this, Lei Zhen bowed his hands in a salute and said, Master Chief Kendo Wushuang, your subordinates are naturally convinced. Chapter 159. The Zhou family's work efficiency is very high. Soon, the matter of the Guang'an Prefecture allied forces was completed by the Zhou family. The registration of Guang'an monks to join the army is also proceeding in an orderly manner. The residence of the Zhou family in Guang'an Prefecture. Inside a fancy fairy palace. Here, for the time being, it is the headquarters of the Guang'an Prefecture allied forces. Within it, the commanders of the 5 defense zones and the cultivator Zhang Zifu, who counted the military exploits, sat together to discuss the specific matters of the coalition forces. The one sitting in the first place was naturally Zhou Mingho, the head of the Zhou family and the commander of the Guang'an Prefecture coalition forces. Zhou Mingho glanced at the crowd with brows and frowned. This coalition seems to be very powerful, but there are far more problems than we imagined. He paused. Although the specific number of the coalition forces has not yet been determined, the military expenditure must be an astronomical sum. Just like the war among mortals. The monk army also needs to consume military expenses. The military expenditures here include the consumption of personal instruments, medicinal pills, magic talismans, large-scale war instruments, array materials, spiritual meridian stations and so on. Although Qinyuan Jianzong provided a military merit system for the monks of Guang'an House, which could offset part of the military expenses. However, the major families in Guang'an Prefecture must also make a big deal of blood, especially the Zhou family who took the lead. In fact, it is normal to think about it. During the period of stability in Guang'an Prefecture, the Zhou family occupied the greatest interests, and when the catastrophe came, the Zhou family must also bear the greatest responsibility. Otherwise, once Guang'an Prefecture falls, the Zhou family will lose more than just the military spending. I heard this. Yang Linyuan on the side said, I wonder how many spirit stones Zhou Daoyu can take out? Zhou Mingho glanced at him, thought for a moment and said, Our Zhou family can take out 40,000 spirit stones for this military expense. Heard. Yang Linyuan shook his right hand slightly and sighed. In this case, I Guang'an Xianming are also willing to take out 10 million spirit stones as military expenses. As he said that, he bowed his hands to everyone and said, My Guang'an Immortal Alliance has spent a lot of money to build Spirit Day City. 10,000 spirit stones are already the greatest sincerity. Please don't dislike it. After that, I apologized again. When Qin Daoxian, who was sitting with them, heard this, he suddenly felt that the chair under his was quite hot, and he was a little restless. How does this make him answer? One family produced 400 million spirit stones, the other 100 million spirit stones. When did the spirit stone use billions as a unit? Qin Daoxian finally understood why the big family despised the low-end magic weapon market. In exchange, his Qin family has so many spirit stones, and he doesn't look down on the low-end magic weapon market. The low-end magic weapon market earns tens of millions of spirit stones a year. Can that be called making money? Shabby. He lowered his head, feeling out of tune with everyone here. Fortunately, everyone knew the situation of his Qin family on Jianghu Island, and they didn't expect them to pay this military expense. The reason why Qin Daoxian can sit here is not so much that his strength is amazing, but his potential is amazing. There are very few short-sighted people who can become the patriarch of a big family in Wanxinghai. Not Zhou Mingho nor Yang Linyuan. They all know that Qin Daoxuan's achievements in the future are bound to be even more amazing than they are now. Whether it is the Zhou family or the Yang family showing favor to Qin Daoxian and the Qin family is investing in the future. At this point, very important for big family. The connections may not work in normal times, but at the critical moment they might be able to save the family. The chaos of the gods. So many families have been annihilated. Why did the Zhou family wait for the timely rescue of Qinyuan Jianzong, just because the Zhou family was lucky? Not necessarily. Seeing Yang Linyuan's statement, Zhou Mingho nodded and continued, "In this case, we will have a total of 500 million military spending. Although this military expenditure is not much, it is enough to support it for a period of time." Hearing this, everyone nodded. That being the case, I will simply make a division of this military expenditure. Hear this. Everyone cheered up. Especially Qin Daoxian. He is the commander of the Western Defense Area, in charge of the security inspection and defense work in the western area of Guang'an Prefecture. There will inevitably be a part of the military expenses, but I don't know if I can get 10 million spirit stones. Qin Daoxian also knew. In this battle, the Eastern Defense Zone headed by Zhou Mubai will definitely receive the most military expenditure. Because in the early stage, only their defense zone had to fight directly against the zombies on Lotus Island. As for the other defense areas, the main purpose is to prevent the corpses from Lianhua Island from jumping off the wall. Caused internal instability in Guang'an Prefecture. In other words, the only real fighting force in Guang'an Prefecture was the Eastern Defense Zone led by Zhou Mubai. The other defense areas are reserve forces, especially the Western Defense Area in charge of Qin Daoxian, which is a guard force. He was satisfied that he could get 10 million spirit stones for the military. See everyone cheer up. Zhou Mingho opened his mouth and said, Mubai's Eastern Defense Zone is divided into 250 million spirit stones because it has to fight directly against the corpses on Lotus Island. Daoyu Yang's Northern Defense Area is backed by Lingrui City, and there is no need to spend military expenses on garrisoning the spiritual veins, so it is a little less, only 70 million spiritual stones. As for my Lingbei Island, all kinds of defense measures are perfect, and the military expenditure is less, only 50 million spirit stones are enough. The southern defense area of Mingyan is located in the hinterland below Guang'an Prefecture, and it is less likely to be exposed to war, so only 50 million spirit stones are needed. As for the western zone, everyone turned their attention to Qin Daoxian, and their eyes were full of meaningful colors. As far as I know, Qindaoyu Shuanghu Island is located in a territory with few spiritual veins. If you choose to garrison there, you will have to spend a lot of spirit stones to build the spiritual veins, plus other consumption, so you need to invest a little more, just tentatively set 80 million spirit stones. Zhou Mingho said indifferently. Who knows that Qin Daoxuan's heart pounded when he heard this. Although this spiritual stone is military expenses, not his personal property. But as commander of the Western Defense Zone, he has the power to decide how to spend the money. In the end, the vast majority of this money must not slowly fall into the Qin family's pocket. If it weren't for the threat of the real person Xinju, how could the Guang'an family be willing to pay such a large amount of blood? Qin Daoxian really felt like he was getting rich from heaven. In his heart, his affection for Zhou Mingho, who insisted on letting him be the commander of the Western Defense Zone, soared. Compared to Yang Linyuan giving him a mouthful of a third-tier high-grade flying sword, Zhou Mingho gave him this great gift, which is called a pattern. However, the righteousness of this gift was so dignified that no monk in Guang'an Prefecture could say a word. Because before in the hall, it is not that no monks objected to Qin Daoxian as the commander of the Western Defense Zone. But he was defeated by Qin Daoxian directly. When he was this commander, he was recognized by the cultivators. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's grateful eyes, Zhou Mingho smiled and nodded to him. Smart people don't always need too many words. This eye contact alone means that the Qin family and his Qin Daoxian have accepted each other's favor. It can be said, this astronomical military spending is too timely. Although the Qin family now has a low-end magic tool business, but unfortunately the production capacity is still somewhat insufficient. Therefore, in a short period of time, it is difficult for the Qin family to obtain a large number of spirit stones. In addition, now that the cultivators of the Fuzi generation are gradually embarking on the path of immortality, the first-order spiritual veins of the Qin family have gradually been unable to meet the needs of the cultivators of the Qin family. The construction of second-order spiritual veins has also been put on the agenda. A second-order spiritual vein requires 1 million spiritual stones. After this spirit stone flower goes out, the spirit stone in the Qin family's clan library is estimated to have bottomed out. It even has to sell some of the spirit or stored by the family. This time, with 80 million spirit stones, the Qin family can do much more. Although this spiritual stone is only military expenses and not Qin Daoxuan's personal property, he can use this spiritual stone for various investments. For example, the most basic spiritual investment. Lingmai investment is an investment that the world of immortals will never lose. The various spiritual veins built by the Yang family within a 10,000 li radius of Lingdai City have confirmed this truth. With this huge spiritual stone, Qin Daoxian also intends to implement the same plan. That is, with Jianghu Island as the core within a radius of 10,000 miles, to build spiritual veins. Of course, how to use the constructed spiritual veins depends on the actual situation. But compared with the Yang family, the Qin family has a huge advantage, that is, the ability to quickly process raw materials such as spirit or in-spirit medicine into products. This advantage has no semicolon in the entire Wangxinghai and even the entire immortal world. In Qin Daoxuan's eyes, this world is too powerful due to the power of monks. As a result, the monks were too superstitious about their own power and ignored the power of the machine. But he is different. As a transmigrator, he has a worldview and cognition that is completely different from this world. In other words, he knew the strengths and weaknesses of both worlds. What Qin Daoxian has to do is to use the strengths of the previous world to make up for the shortcomings of this world. The shortcomings of this world refer to far more than just productivity, including institutional, economic, and even cultural. If you want to change all this, you need to build on your own strength, otherwise it will be empty talk. Just like the Zhao family, it disappeared in the dust of history with a little wave. Out of the main hall of the coalition headquarters, Qin Daoxian was floating when he walked. "Brother Qin." Behind him, Zhou Mubai's voice suddenly sounded. "Brother Zhou." When Qin Daoxian saw each other, it was the same as seeing his relatives. This feeling is not only because he and Zhou Mubai have a relationship of life and death, but also because of the huge sum of money that the Zhou family sent him just now, making him feel extremely cordial when he sees everyone in the Zhou family. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's appearance, Zhou Mubai shook his head with a smile and said jokingly, "I didn't expect you to have such a wealthy side." Hear this. Qin Daoxian was immediately unhappy and said, "Brother Zhou, you were born in a big family, how do you know the suffering of our small monks?" Shaking his head, he said sternly, "Brother Zhou is going to attack Lotus Island, do you have any specific plans?" Hear this. Zhou Mubai pondered for a moment and said, "My plan is very simple, fortify the walls and clear the fields." Fortified walls and clear fields? Qin Daoxian couldn't help frowning. Why don't you attack Lotus Island directly? Chapter 160, Hurt. Zhou Mubai shook his head. Although the tide of corpses currently entrenched on Lotus Island is not that strong, the real Shinjue lurking in the dark is a big trouble, and we don't know if the real Shinjue has left behind. It is not a good idea to rashly attack Lotus Island. Qin Daoxian frowned and said, "But according to our last investigation, Lotus Island should have only 2 complete zombies of the Purple Palace and 3 zombies of the early Purple Palace." "It's not that simple," Zhou Mubai said as he walked. "Have you found it? The 3 zombies in the early stage of Zifu are all monks from the Wu and Zhao families." "You mean?" Qin Daoxian was suddenly shocked. "You must know that the Wu family and the Zhao family have no Zifu cultivators, that is to say, the 2 zombies in the early Zifu were promoted to the Zifu combat power after death. But how long have they been dead? Even the longest Wu family cultivator has only been dead for a few months, and the Zhao family cultivator has just died not long ago. In such a short period of time, the corpse of a base-building cultivator was forcibly refined into a Zifu zombie, which meant that the real person of Shinjue could mass-produce the battle power of Zifu. Think of this. Qin Daoxian only felt horrified. Qinyuan Jianzong wants the monks of Guang'an House to lead out the real person Shinju, which might be the rhythm that the whole monks of Guang'an House will be wiped out. For this situation. Of course, the Guang'an House cultivator was unwilling to act as such an early bird. So the Zhou family came up with the idea of withdrawing all the monks from Lotus Island close to Guang'an House. Fortunately, the people living on these islands are scattered cultivators and children of small families, and there are very few spiritual veins. It's just that there are so many mortals. In order to transport these mortals, The Zhou family and the Yang family spent a lot of energy before transferring these people to the spiritual veins within 10,000 miles of Lingbei Island. After removing these mortals and low-level monks, Zhou Mubai will build several strong defense lines on Lianhu Island to several islands of Wu and Zhou families to prevent the corpse tide from spreading to Guang'an Prefecture. Thus, feeling the pressure exerted by Guang'an Prefecture, the corpse tide is likely to spread in the opposite direction of Guang'an Prefecture. The opposite direction from Lotus Island to Guang'an Mansion is the direction of Zhangzhou Xianqing. There is the clan of the first family in Zhangzhou, the Yi family. This is also the real plan of the Guang'an Prefecture allied forces, to bring disaster to the east. As for whether the Yi family chose to block the corpse tide like Guang'an Mansion, or directly send monks to exterminate them, it had nothing to do with Guang'an Mansion. Zhou Mubai only needs to firmly hold the Guang'an Prefecture defense line. As for the suffering of the Yi family, Zhou Mubai didn't have time to applaud, so how could he send an army of monks to help them? Moreover, when the Yi family suffered, Zhou Mubai did not believe that the Qinyuan sword sect would remain indifferent. Hearing this explanation, Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai smiled at each other. The Yi family has too many enemies. The Zhou family has a grudge against the Yi family, the Qin family has a grudge against the Yi family, and the Yang family does the same. In Zhangzhou there may not be a few families that do not have grudges with the Yi family. The next days, Qin Daoxian selected the soldiers in the Western Defense Zone, and then returned to Sequoia Island with these soldiers. This time, in order to support the Western Defense Zone, the Zhou family has seconded 10 Spirit Void battleships. Now, on each of the Spirit Void battleships, there are 100 Foundation Establishment cultivators. Add up. There are 1,000 base-building cultivators stationed in the Western Defense Zone, and this does not include ordinary soldiers in the Qi refining period. There are nearly 100,000 monks in the entire Western Defense Zone. This is just the smallest of the zones. There was no way, in order to deal with the corpse tide and the real person, the monks in Guang'an had to unite. This is just the transfer of the monks. You know, in Guang'an Mansion, behind every cultivator, there is a large group of mortals serving him. Whether it is a family cultivator or a loose cultivator, this is basically the same. Behind the family monks, there are naturally an extremely large number of clansmen. And behind the loose cultivator, there are also a large number of slaves. Even these slaves will build cities and reproduce offspring under the protection of loose cultivators. After several generations of reproduction, the descendants of slaves generally no longer have the identity of slaves, and will automatically become ordinary civilians. Until then, these commoners may embark on the path of cultivation under the advice of loose cultivators. This is also the biggest source of Wan Xinghai's scattered cultivation. Family monks use blood as a link to reproduce offspring and cultivate monks. The advantage of doing this is that the clan is united and has a strong centripetal force. On the other hand, loose cultivators support themselves with ordinary civilians or slaves. It is possible that before his death, he will accept a few disciples and pass on the mantle. However, because the disciples do not have deep feelings, they often become passers-by in the future. If the loose cultivator who left the inheritance is powerful enough, such as the Tao lineage left by a certain Mahayana true immortal, it will be different. Such inheritance often eventually evolves into a sect, rather than disappearing after a generation or two. Of course, in the world of immortality, it is not surprising that sects have declined and eventually disappeared. For example, the Qinyuan sword sect is a line of Taoism left by a Mahayana true immortal, and then slowly developed to the point where it is today. There are also powerful people in the Xiuxin family, and they are not weaker than the sect. Actually, in this world, no matter what kind of cultivation power it is, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of the clan's cultivation force is that the clansmen are united enough, but the disadvantage is that it is inevitable that they will treasure themselves. And the cultivation force of the sect is much more tolerant than the family. As long as they are talented immortals within the sphere of influence, regardless of blood, they will be cultivated in the sect before a certain age. As such, in terms of the choice of disciples, they are inherently much broader than the family power. In addition, their inheritance is not weak. Generally speaking, the power of the sect in the Xiuxian world is larger than that of the family. For example, Qinyuan Jianzong, such as Zhuanyangzong, such as Qinghui Taoist School, such as Qinji Temple, etc. However, the development of the sect power also has its drawbacks. That is, the system is not perfect, and after it can only grow to a certain extent, it has to rely on the family power to rule the territory under its command. This will inevitably lead to instability in governance. Don't look at Qinyuan Jianzong's extremely firm control of Wanxinghai, that is under the premise that its momentum is unparalleled for a while. When Qinyuan Jianzong shows a slight decline, the major families of Wanxinghai will inevitably violate its laws. Not only Wanxinghai, but also the clan forces under the other sects of Xianyuns who are basically the same. Someone might say, that being the case, why not completely abolish the family system and bring the entire territory under the rule of the sect? It can only be said that this idea is very beautiful, but in fact it is impossible. This world is somewhat similar to the ancient society of Qin Daoxuan's previous life, but it is completely different internally. The biggest difference is that this world is a world where great power is attributed to itself. Humans are the most contradictory creatures. They may sacrifice their lives for their ideals and the forces they belong to, but they also have no bottom line for future generations. If Qinyuan Jianzong had ruled Wanxinghai, it would have completely wiped out all the families. What will happen next is almost predictable. Will the high-level officials in Qinyuan sword sect have descendants? Certainly. Do these high-level descendants choose to be placed in Qinyuan Jianzong, or driven out? Generally speaking, in order to maintain the long-term stability of the denomination seldom devotes resources to the high-ranking children. Because of this, after a few generations, the sect became a union of several families, and after several generations of fighting, it finally became a family. The senior sect officials will naturally not sit back and watch this happen. As a result, the descendants of the high-ranking sects often go out independently to open up a cultivator family. In this way, the problem returned to its original point, and the Xiuxin family was born again. Therefore, it is not that the family system is not abolished but that there is no way to cancel it. On the deck of the Spirit Void battleship, Qin Daoxian looked at Zhou Muqing and Zhou Xiliang who were standing beside him and said with a smile, "Uncle Zhou, Brother Xiliang, follow me to Sequoia Island this time, but you have to start all over again." "Haha, I'm already satisfied that I can save my life. Besides, now that you are under your command, nephew, can you still treat my father and son badly?" Zhou Muqing laughed. "That's not so," Qin Daoxian said with a smile, "but Brother Xiliang is estimated to be very uncomfortable with Sequoia Island." "Brother Qin, don't scare me." Zhou Xiliang had a sullen look on his face. "It won't really be a wild place. The wild places are not enough, but there is no place for fun." "That's a good feeling." Zhou Muqing immediately applauded and laughed when he heard this. Hearing this, Zhou Xiliang immediately put on a bitter face. The crowd laughed a few times. Behind him, a cultivator in armor came over and cupped his hands. "Lord Commander, Sequoia Island is coming soon, heard?" Qin Daoxian glanced at the red island below his eyes and nodded. "I see." "Yes." Lei Jin cupped his hands and stepped back. This late foundation building loose cultivator named Lei Jin seemed to be convinced by Qin Daoxian, and followed Qin Daoxian to Sequoia Island. Although there are as many as 1,000 base building cultivators here. But most of them are early stage foundation building cultivators, and even the middle stage foundation building cultivators are few in number. As for the later stage of foundation building, there were only Zhou Muqing and Lei Jin. These two, one is the 7th floor of the foundation building, and the other is the 8th floor of the foundation building. This strength is not too shabby compared to Zhou Muqing in the Eastern Defense Zone. However, the main function of the Western Defense Zone is to patrol, and it does not require frontline combat. This power is more than enough for patrol. Even if it weren't for Qin Daoxian, the Zhou family would be able to handle this trivial matter, and there was no need to establish any Western Defense Zone. It's just that the Qin family Jianghu Island is here. In order to have a harmonious relationship between the two families in the future, the Zhou family will naturally plan their spheres of influence in advance to avoid conflicts between the two parties in the future. This Western defense area is not so much a defense area as it is the sphere of influence of the Qin family. In other words, now with Jianghu Island as the center, the sea area with a radius of more than 10,000 miles will be the sphere of influence of the Qin family. Compared to the time when he could only traverse a few nearby islands, the Qin family's sphere of influence has expanded more than 100 times. It's just that the sphere of influence is now expanded, but the Qin family still faces a problem, that is, there is a shortage of manpower and it is seriously insufficient. Chapter 161. Boom. The Spirit Void battleship pierced the sky. So, one after another, the Spirit Void battleships landed on Sequoia Island in an orderly manner. One after another, the lights flew off the battleship, and when everyone saw the scene in front of them, they couldn't help but look at each other. This? It's actually a desert island. You must know that the cultivators present have the lowest cultivation base in the early stage of foundation building. With their cultivation base, the worst one has a first-order spiritual vein to supply them for cultivation. A completely deserted island makes them feel very uncomfortable who are used to seeing high-level spiritual veins. Seeing Zhong Xiu's disappointed eyes, Chen Daoxian boosted his morale and said, "Although the island under our feet is a deserted island, the island is huge, not much smaller than Lingbei Island, Jianghu Island and other large islands. It is suitable to be used as the resident of our Western Defense Zone. Besides, as long as there is a spiritual stone, it can be cultivated, so there is no need to worry. I plan to cultivate a third-order spiritual vein here for the garrison of our Western Defense Zone." Third-order spiritual veins? That's not the same as the immortal city of Guang'an Prefecture and the immortal city of Lingri. I mean, it is also one of the 5 defense areas and we are not too much worse than others. It seems that we may still take advantage of it. You must know that we have the fewest people in our defense zone, which means that each of us has the most aura resources. Well said. Seeing everyone regain their morale, Chen Daoxian nodded slightly. Another important reason why he chose Sequoia Island as the garrison of the Western Defense Zone was that it was only a mere 400 miles away from Jianghu Island, the home of the Chen family. With Chen Daoxian's escaping speed, it only takes a few hundred breaths to rush back. Thus, when the family encounters any danger, he can take care of it immediately. If he really let him serve as the commander of other defense zones, Chen Daoxian would decisively refuse. Because in addition to his combat power comparable to Zifu, the strongest cultivator in the Qin family only has the 9th level of qi refining, and there is not even a foundation-building cultivator. Once attacked by the zombies on Lotus Island, the Qin family would have no resistance at all. Seeing everyone regain their morale, Chen Daoxian continued, "We are the first group of monks to arrive, and it will take 3 months for the large army to arrive. During this period of time, let's work hard first, open up our respective caves first, and cultivate the spiritual veins here first. It should be the hard work of the leader. Opening up a cave is nothing more than a loose cultivator like me." Yes, you are working hard, Commander. There is an adult in command of Lao." When they heard that Chen Daoxian was going to arrange a great formation for them, everyone was excited. Cultivating the third-order spiritual meridian requires not only 10 million spirit stones, but also a third-order spiritual formation. Generally speaking, you need to use a third-order array mage. However, with Chen Daoxian's formation skills and the ability of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic to store understanding, it is not too difficult to set up this formation. It just takes a little time. Chen Daoxian estimated that it would take about a month or so to complete the arrangement of this third-order spiritual formation. It is estimated that it will be a year before the spiritual pulse is promoted to the 3rd rank. This time. Of course, Chen Daoxian would not wait like this. You must know that the people who came to Sequoia Island on this trip were not only the 100,000 qi refining cultivators and the 1,000 foundation building cultivators, but also the huge group of mortals behind them. Among these cultivators, some are family cultivators of a family, and some are loose cultivators. But no matter what kind of monk, there are a lot of mortals behind them. In addition to placing these monks, Chen Daoxian also had to place these mortals. He estimated that the number of mortals behind this group of monks was at least tens of millions. This is a huge project, but also helpless. Now Guang'an Prefecture is constantly facing the threat of the corpse tide on Lotus Island. Ordinary qi refining families and scattered cultivators simply do not dare to be scattered on various islands in Guang'an Prefecture as they used to. The fate of doing so can be known by looking at the Zhao family. There is no cultivator who feels that his family or his own strength is stronger than the Zhao family. Warming in a group is a wise choice. This is also the reason why everyone at that time would try their best to object when they heard that Chen Daoxian was the commander of the Western Defense Zone. What they need is the protection of the strong, not a monk who is the same as theirs or even inferior to them. Foreseeable. As Sequoia Island was developed, the Western Division was stationed there. More and more monks and mortals will gather towards Sequoia Island, especially the monks and mortals who usually live in the west of Guang'an Prefecture. As for going to the immortal city of Guang'an Prefecture and the immortal city of Lingrui to settle down, there has to be a place there. Right now there is a corpse massacre in Guang'an House, and everyone is breaking their heads and trying to find a safe place to shelter. The first choice is definitely Lingbei Island of the Zhou family. But the total population of Guang'an Prefecture is more than hundreds of millions. With so many people, Lingbei Island can't bear it at all. The load here is not enough, which means that the land is not enough to live in. In fact, with the land of Zhoujia Lingbei Island and the surrounding spiritual veins, there are hundreds of millions of people living there, and there is no problem at all. The burden here means that it cannot support so many mortals. After all, mortals are different from monks. Monks can eat qi and not die, they can refine spiritual energy and they don't eat or drink. But mortals can't do it. If they don't eat or drink, mortals will starve to death. Hundreds of millions of mortals consume an astronomical amount of food every day. Large enough fields must be cultivated to feed these mortals. Therefore, it is impossible for the Zhou family to gather all mortals on several islands, which is unrealistic. Even Sequoia Island developed it. It is impossible for Qin Daoxian to arrange the population of more than 10 million on Sequoia Island. He will only use Sequoia Island as the core, while developing the surrounding islands as a food production place for mortals. Only in this way, to feed a huge population. For the time being, the situation is stable enough, and food can still be imported. But when the corpse chaos breaks out completely in the future or Shinjua Jinren comes up with some new actions, the entire Guang'an Prefecture will be in chaos. That a stable food base is very important. Only when the grain bag is firmly grasped can it be possible to develop. Otherwise, the mortals will starve to death, and the cultivation forces will not be far from decline. Of course Qin Daoxian understood this simple truth. Sequoia Island. An easy port. Several Qin family cargo ships stopped here. Cargo ship. A gray-haired old man stepped off the cargo ship on crutches. Qin Lao, please slow down. Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Beiwang, who was faltering, took a few steps forward and supported him. Thank you, young patriarch. Qin Beiwang cupped his hands towards Qin Daoxian, then raised his head and looked at the fiery red Sequoia Island in front of him. Young patriarch, you are talking about this island? Right? Qin Daoxian nodded, thought about it and said, Old Qin, let me show you the whole picture of Sequoia Island. Saying that, he waved his sleeves lightly. A gentle wind wrapped the two figures. Qin Beiwang and Qin Daoxian slowly ascended into the sky. When Qin Beiwang was on Jianghu Island, he was led by the monks to survey the landforms. So very calm. Just over an hour. Qin Daoxian took Qin Beiwang to make a rough survey of the entire Sequoia Island. See the whole picture of Sequoia Island. Qin Beiwang cupped his hands and said, Young patriarch, most of this island is a plain area. There are many trees, freshwater lakes and rivers on the island. It is very suitable for building a city along the coast. Compared with Jianghu Island, the location here is better. Of course Qin Daoxian understood this. When Qin Jiazu chose to open a family on Jianghu Island, it was entirely because of the spiritual eyes and copper mines on Qitong Mountain. Otherwise, choosing Sequoia Island is obviously much better than choosing Jianghu Island. Hearing what Qin Beiwang said, Qin Daoxian nodded reassuringly and said, Is there any problem if I entrust this city to you to build? Hear this. Qin Beiwang was overjoyed at first, then shook his head gloomily and said bitterly, It will take at least 10 years or even decades to build a city with the power of mortals. The old man can't wait that long. I am afraid that the young patriarch will be disappointed. Qin Beiwang bowed his hands. Qin Lao, don't be pessimistic, your body is still strong. After a word of relief, Qin Daoxian continued, I know that it took a long time to build this city with mortals as the main force. What if it was built with the power of monks? You mean? Qin Beiwang moved in his heart and said a little excitedly. Yes, I want you to lead the construction of this city, Mr. Qin. As for the specific construction tasks, it will be left to the monks to complete. But? Qin Beiwang didn't know how to describe it. After a long while, he said slowly, But the old man is only a mortal. How can he command the immortal master to do things? Qin Daoxian raised his hand and stopped. It's settled like this, Qin Lao can rest assured, I guarantee that they will be very obedient. This? Qin Beiwang immediately thought of Qin Liangyu, the director of the family Feijin factory. In theory, the monks who work in the factory are also under the jurisdiction of Qin Liangyu. But, after all, he was a monk of his own clan, a disciple of his own clan. They accepted Qin Liangyi's management. Although Qin Beiwang was surprised, it was not unacceptable, and now he had to command strange monks to complete the work of building the city. This is completely different from Qin Beiwang's management of family monks. A monk? Would he really follow a mortal's command? Qin Beiwang was very suspicious. But seeing Qin Daoxian's eyes, Qin Baiwang put away all the doubts in his heart. After all, in Qin Baiwang's eyes, there is nothing that Qin Daoxian cannot do. The Qin family is on Jianghu Island and has grown step by step at a speed visible to the naked eye. Today's Qin family has become the most powerful family within a radius of 10,000 miles. Although this strongest has a lot of water, most of it is based on Qin Daoxian's personal strength. But with this momentum, the strength of the Qin family will soon catch up. The largest group of monks in the Fuzi generation is now 6 years old. In 2 years they will continue to enter the factory with energy. At that time the Qin family will really take off. At that time, what the Qin family needs to worry about is not the problem of insufficient production capacity, but the problem of insufficient market. Qin Daoxian knows that once the scale of industrialization expands, the increase in productivity will be explosive. Chapter 162, Sequoia Island. In a newly built palace. This is the temporary headquarters of the Western Defense Zone. What? Let's help mortals build cities? A base-building cultivator wearing a blue robe suddenly stood up, his face full of disbelief. See you. All the generals in the West Defense area looked at him. Master Commander, I'll be blunt here, we are here to guard against the corpse tide on Lotus Island, not to build a city for mortals. The cultivator in the cyan robe was filled with righteous indignation, as if he had caused great humiliation to mortals by casting the city. Seeing this scene, the other monks also showed an indifferent attitude. A monk is a monk and a mortal is a mortal. In this world there is only a reason for mortals to kowtow and bow for monks, and there is no reason for monks to carry bricks for mortals to build a city. Since the human race became the overlord of this world by relying on the power of monks, monks have always been high above. Kills and punishes ordinary mortals at will. In Wuxia this phenomenon is slightly better. Because of the decree of Qinyuan Jianzong, mortals were protected at the most basic level. Wanting to kill mortals is against the decree of Qinyuan Jianzong, even if this mortal is a slave. But Qin Daoxian asked the monks to build houses and cities for mortals, which was somewhat unacceptable to the cultivators. This is like asking a superior leader to go to the front line of the construction site to move bricks. Even the arrogance of their own ruling class made the monks feel particularly uncomfortable. It is also due to Qin Daoxian who gave them this order, their direct superior, and the sword cultivator who made the monks of the same level look up. If other monks of the same level dared to say this to him, maybe he would have to use a sword to reason with each other. Heard the words. Qin Daoxian glanced at the cultivators in the palace. He found that even Zhou Mucheng and Zhou Xiliang were frowning at the moment, as if Qin Daoxian's behavior really challenged everyone's bottom line. But Qin Daoxian was unwilling and impossible to make concessions to the cultivators at this moment. He said coldly, "If I remember correctly, are you a monk of the Wei family?" "Your Majesty, Commander, the subordinates are members of the Wei family." The middle-aged cultivator in the blue Taoist robe cupped his hands and said respectfully. For Qin Daoxian he was still convinced from the bottom of his heart. After all, a few days ago Qin Daoxian defeated Lei Zhen, a famous loose cultivator, with one sword in public, which was shocking. You must know that Lei Zhen's reputation among loose cultivators is not only due to his eagerness for justice, but also to his top-notch strength among foundation-building cultivators. Even so, he was still defeated by Qin Daoxian, a monk at the early stage of foundation building. And Wei Lidao asked himself, with his cultivation in the middle stage of foundation building, he is definitely not the opponent of Lei Zhen in the later stage of foundation building. One can imagine how big the difference in strength between him and Qin Daoxian is. The reason why the cultivators regard their status as high or low is essentially because of the difference in strength. Because normally, the strength of high-level monks will show a state of crushing against low-level monks. But not including the arrogant evildoers like Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai. This kind of genius, the combat power is often difficult to estimate with the cultivation base. For them, fighting beyond the ranks is as easy as a routine. For this arrogance, Wei Lidao naturally did not dare to offend in the slightest. If it wasn't for Qin Daoxian's request that was really contrary to common sense, Wei Lidao would not stand up and raise objections. After all, this is the first official order issued by the commander after he came to the station. Very good. Qin Daoxian nodded. Let me ask you, do your Wei family choose to stay in their original clan land, or migrate to Sequoia Island? Heard the words. Wei Lidao frowned and cupped his hands. Naturally, he migrated here with his subordinates. How many tribes do you have? Master Commander, my Wei family has more than 300,000 members. More than 300,000 people. Tell me, where did they live on Sequoia Island? This? Wei Lidao was dumbfounded for a while. Indeed, where so many people have migrated here is a very serious question. Because mortals and monks are different. The monk wanted to build a palace cave, waved his hand, and it would be completed in a day or two. Besides, with the ability of monks to adapt to the environment, even if they eat and drink dew, it is a matter of life for them. But not ordinary people. They have no house, no food, they will freeze to death and starve to death. Compared with monks, mortals are much more vulnerable. Moreover, the Wei family members are only a part of the mortals who have migrated here, and there will be more mortals under the family and loose cultivators who will continue to migrate. No way. In order to deal with the corpse tide, in order to deal with Shinjue real people, everyone had to gather together to warm up. Otherwise, if a single family or a loose cultivator encounters the invasion of the Zifu zombies, it is not much different from being sent to death. The Zhao family was so powerful that the whole family was killed in the corpse, not to mention other families. Wei Liguo was speechless. Qin Daoxian continued, the first batch of mortals will arrive here in a month or more at most. Before that, if we don't build the first batch of houses, they will freeze to death. Qin Daoxian looked around at everyone, held up his hands and said, why do you want to see your own people or mortals under your command freeze to death? Under Qin Daoxian's gaze, everyone lowered their heads. See you. Qin Daoxian gave Zhou Muqing a look. After realizing it, Zhou Muqing immediately stood up and said, I am willing to build a city for mortals. Everyone looked at each other when they heard this. So they cupped their hands and said, I'm also willing to wait. Very good, Qin Daoxian smiled and said, it's not just that you are willing, you 10 are the commanders of the 10,000 soldiers in my western defense area, and you must also let the soldiers under your command understand this meaning and help mortals build a city together. Now is in the midst of the disaster of Guang'an Mansion. Whether it is monks or mortals, they must join hands to overcome the difficulties together. Here, don't let me hear about monks oppressing mortals. Otherwise, this seat recognizes him, and the sword in this seat may not recognize him. At the end, Qin Daoxian's tone revealed Sin Lung's killing intent. This moment, everyone understands that the leader in front of him is not only a foundation-building cultivator in his 20s, but also a genius sword cultivator who holds 100,000 military power. The monks who have been on the front line know that just relying on Wei Lidao to refute Qin Daoxian's order just now is enough to be executed on the front line of Izumo. The charge is of course disobeying the military order. The current Guang'an prefecture is no different from the front line of the Izumo kingdom, and it has also been designated as a war zone by Qinyuan Jianzong. Since it is a war zone, the laws of the front line are naturally enforced. Wei Lidao also reacted at this moment. He actually went around the gate of just now, and he couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. Seeing everyone was silent, Qin Daoxian nodded with satisfaction and continued, the second thing is about the supply of magic weapons in the Western Defense Zone. Do you have any good channels to buy magic tools? Everyone is not stupid. When they heard this, they immediately knew that the opportunity to flatter the boss had come. Lei Jun stood up first, his voice was like thunder, and the bombed hall roared, Master Commander, our magic weapon is mainly for those soldiers in the Qi refining period who do not have magic tools. Therefore, I think that the first-order low-grade and first-grade middle-grade magic tools are enough. The first-order high-grade magic tools are good, but the price is too high, and only a small amount of elite Qi refining cultivators can be equipped. And in Guang'an Prefecture, the best low-level magic tools are naturally Chen's family on Shuanghu Island, which is well known. When everyone heard the words, they nodded in agreement. Seeing that his subordinates are so sensible, Qin Daoxian was very satisfied, and he finally felt a bit like being a commander. Since you all think that my Qin family's low-level magic weapons are the best, then this military supply list will be handed over to my Qin family. Qin Daoxian immediately made a decision. Because the amount of military supplies is large, I have to pay part of the deposit to my Qin family, otherwise I am afraid that my Qin family will go bankrupt. It should be. As it should be. All the cultivators agreed with the Tao. The first batch of military supplies, I am going to buy 50,000 flying swords, including 30,000 first-order low-grade flying swords and 20,000 first-order mid-grade flying swords. According to the market price, this batch of flying swords will cost 3.5 million spirit stone. First, pay half of the deposit of the Qin family, which is 1.75 million spirit stones, and the follow-up spirit stones will be settled within 3 years. The Qin family also needs to deliver this batch of flying swords within 3 years. Heard this? Everyone felt that there was no big problem. The only question was why there were 50,000 flying swords instead of 100,000. Heard this question? Qin Daoxian explained, buying too much at one time, I'm afraid my Qin family can't eat it, take your time. Everyone nodded. At this time, as long as you are not stupid, you all know that magical instruments and some special medicine pills and magic talismans will become resources in short supply. In war, what we fight is logistics. The same is true for wars between monks. It's just that compared with the ancient wars of the previous life, the war between monks, in addition to these logistical resources, also depends on the gap in the strength of the monks on both sides. For example, a cultivator in the qi refining stage, even if he holds the best magic weapon, he can't be the opponent of the Zifu cultivator, even if the Zifu cultivator doesn't use any magic weapon or use any foreign objects. The gap in cultivation base is large to a certain extent, and foreign objects are almost irreparable. This is the biggest difference between monks and mortal warfare. Compared to the mortal war that relies only on equipment, the monk war, in the final analysis, depends on the strength of the warring parties. Take over this large order for military supplies. The Qin family did nothing and immediately got 1.75 million spirit stones. This is only the first business. In the future, the 80 million spirit stones will basically fall into the Qin family's pockets, in addition to the consumption of building spirit veins. If this is not possible, Qin Daoxian has been in vain all these years. Besides, these spiritual veins that have been built will eventually be disposed of by the Qin family. This is no different from the spiritual veins of the Qin family. As long as he has been the commander of this Western Defense Zone, is there anyone else who can rob him of the right to dispose of these spiritual veins? As for the position of commander of the Western Defense District, even if Qin Daoxian resigns in the future, only the cultivator of the Qin family can hold it. Because the area west of Guang'an Prefecture is already the Qin family's sphere of influence. At this point, when the Zhou family divided the defense area a few days ago, it was determined. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.